Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
He's their best receiver. I don't think they have a number one receiver. I don't think they have a
their
number
number
one,
one, but he's not on number one.
The things that really get under Mike Dussault's skin.
Semantics.
That's one.
Yeah.
Semantic.
XYZ, 1, 2, 3.
Football talk.
Him getting banged up and being inconsistent. And
Now, Mike, did he play the X?
I think it was 1, 2, 3, XYZ.
Good for you.
By the way, can we get a close-up of Deuce's socks?
Offered him a lower contract after the team offered him more money. The Bengals offered him more money. None
That's
of it.
not how you do negotiations.
Yeah, and none of it.
T.C. McCartney, who young guy, was
not
out,
opposed to that.
like maybe like there might be more
He could wear tight
percolating
pants.
instead
Yeah, I was
of
gonna say, how
his
tight are
pants.
his
Yeah,
pants?
he's
He could wear
I'm
tight
just-
pants.
Are his
Coach
pants
for Cal-
tight?
They could win the game and not necessarily have a great offensive day.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about they just came out and lit it on.
I might take my shirt off.
Take my
I
shirt
might
off.
in Cincinnati.
Just for the record,
Still a
Barth
savage
still single.
takedown.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Wednesday here at Gillette Stadium, our first Wednesday show of the regular season. As a reminder, Patriots Unfiltered will be with you every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 to 2 here on in throughout the regular season and as long as that season lasts.
And we are back to our roots, Freddie.
Yeah, just Paul and I for the time being, open locker room.
Yeah.
So Evan and Deuce are in the locker room gathering up quotes, and they'll be here, in about half an hour or so, maybe a little sooner. But that's where they are, and as soon as they're done, they will join us on the show. We're getting ready. Obviously, what are you doing over there?
I got some issues.
Okay. You went to the doctor today?
I did.
Is that what you did?
And I took the thing off too, so
You got
it's still
yourself a
bleeding.
shot? You're not bleeding. You're fine. All right.
I don't want it to get on my nice shirt.
Yeah, that's true. You got a nice. You're going with the North Carolina colors a lot lately.
Well, I'm big,
Somebody tell you that bring out your eyes.
I'm a big Drake May
Yeah,
guy.
Okay. All right. But speaking of Drake May, he will not play in this game. It'll be Jacoby Brissett.
Well,
who
we hope.
is the starter. Yeah, we hope. And Gerard Mayo spoke this just moments ago
Yeah.
about the game, mentioned their defensive front, something that we talked about yesterday, maybe the strength of their defense.
Well, certainly the edge rushers are.
Yeah.
And I thought Gerard was right in pointing out it's not just a one-man show. Sam Hubbard's pretty good too. So
Yeah.
those two guys are going to be pressing for regardless of who plays
They're gonna
tackle.
be a
and-
handful.
And Mayo got into that a little bit too.
Yeah,
the
he
offensive line.
mentioned that a couple things that don't quite line up, but I guess, if you think about it, I guess they do. But he said the offensive line will look pretty much like it looked in the Commanders' preseason game, but they're still sorting through that.
Right, and the other thing about that I'm not really sure of is City So was injured in that game.
Right.
So is he talking about the group that started the game, probably with David, with David Andrews and so on and so forth? Or is he talking about the group that finished the,
Right.
like with finished the quote unquote first team reps when
Right.
So had gone out?
Right.
So I think he's right. Like, I think they're still sorting some of those things out. Andrews and Owenu will be two of them. Not even sure exactly where Owenu will be,
Yep.
but I'm pretty comfortable that those will be two of them. I
think
think
a
a
core
core four will be
yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
But I'm not exactly sure how it will all unfold because
Yeah.
Vidarian Lowe, is still sort of working his way back. So I'm kind of getting doubtful on him.
So if you're the Bengals, do you go right at the Patriots right away, or do you play a little rope-a-dope and then, like in the second quarter, you just bring the heat and just
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've said this, and maybe I'll be wrong about it, but I wouldn't get too aggressive going after the Patriots
Yeah.
quarterbacks. I don't think you need to. I think you can sort of, and I don't think that Cincinnati necessarily does a lot of that. They kind of do what they do well, and I would test the offensive line with my front four and see what kind of pressure. Now, if it's not working, if the Patriots are holding up better than people think they will,
Yep.
then you change, you adjust. That's what Belichick was great at, was sort of figuring out how the game declares early on and adjusting accordingly. But if I were Lou Anarumo, that's twice I did that right.
Yeah.
I would let Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard go after them and see if you can pressure those tackles and get after Jacoby Brissett without having to blitz.
Yeah. And then, as far as the Patriots attacking the Bengals, if Chase doesn't play, and so far it looks like he won't.
Yeah, I would be surprised at this point, but today is a big day.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, it's install day. This is when you get the entirety of the game plan is established. So if he misses a Wednesday, and it's a little different than a normal week for a guy like this, during let's say it was week 10 and Chase had been playing all 9 weeks, but he's battling an ankle sprain or something, and they kept him out of practice. I still would think he'd have a chance to play, but he hasn't done anything all training camp. I'm sure he's conditioning, but it's not the same. He hasn't done any 11-on-11 work with the Bengals.
Yeah.
And then you're going to miss the install day and not even take a full week of practice. I think if he doesn't practice today, I think that's
the only solace I would
it.
give Bengals fans is, it's still Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they probably have, some chemistry.
Oh,
so,
if Chase plays, then that, I don't expect him to be, mid-season form, but that will still be a problem.
Yeah, it'll still be a problem. But like I said, right now it looks like he's not going to play, and if he doesn't, even if he, let's put it this way: whether he plays or not, I think a key for the Patriots defense is Christian Gonzalez. Can he take, whether it's T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, can he go one-on-one and free up the rest of that defense?
Yeah, I agree, and I do think that if Chase doesn't play, it affords them the luxury of sending multiple people at T. Higgins and making the other guys beat you.
Right.
Because I don't really think that they have a lot of depth. They let Tyler Boyd go, and they're handing it over to a young slot guy. I think he's the Princeton kid that Mike was talking about yesterday, Andre Yeshivas, I think is how you pronounce the name, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah.
They like him. They think he's ready to go. I think Trenton Irwin is another guy that they've sort of sporadically put in the offense. And old friend Mike Gesicki is kind of serving as their slot guy out of tight end. I don't think that's really a receiving core beyond Chase and Higgins. Now, those are obviously two very good players, but beyond those two guys, I don't think it's a core that strikes a lot of fear into secondaries. I would think that they can double team Higgins in that regard.
Yeah.
And then make one of those other guys beat him.
Yeah. They got a tight end, Drew Sample.
Yeah.
Any
not
good?
bad.
No?
No. But he's not going to, kill you.
Yeah. Right.
If Duggar and Peppers are supposed to be the strength of your defense, you can't allow tight ends to kill you.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know that neither one of those guys is necessarily known for the coverage.
Yeah.
They're more physical, in the box kind of guys.
But if it's a tight end,
they should be able to handle pedestrian tight ends. I'm not asking them to take Mark Andrews out of the game or Travis Kelce out of the game, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, listen, I know that the Bengals have aspirations for the playoffs and beyond, but I think given it's week 1, given Chase might not play, I give the Patriots a puncher's chance.
I think everybody has a puncher's chance in week 1.
Yeah.
I just think and Bill used to talk about this all the time, there's so much uncertainty heading into that game because no matter how many times you go over things and how much you practice it and prepare, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Now you get hit in the mouth.
And Bill always says, there was a game, and I don't know if you remember this, I want to say it was 05, 06, somewhere in that area. They opened up at home right here with Buffalo. And on the first play of the game, Brady got strip sacked by Takeo Spikes, and it was returned for a touchdown. So, one play into the season, you just turn the ball over for a touchdown. Who had that? Who was prepared for that?
Right.
And Bill always, talked about that game. It's a game that they ended up winning 19-17 on a late safety. Yeah, Ty Warren. But Bill would talk about that kind of stuff. No matter how much you prepare for it, you just don't know how the game's going to unfold. And I think in week 1, that's why week 1 survivor pools are always bloodbaths.
I think for picking games, week 1, week 2, and week 17 are your toughest weeks.
17 is
because
tough.
Week 2, you don't know what you saw in week 1 is real or not.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
So we'll get to those picks tomorrow at the end of the show.
Got to carve out some extra time for that.
Yeah. Do we have a sponsor for the picks yet? No.
What are you hearing?
I hear nothing.
No,
Nothing.
You know what a shame is
Wiz
too. There's not
Khalifa,
really
we need a pick sponsor.
there's not really a lot of gambling related websites around anymore.
Oh,
like,
no.
So it's probably
The
hard
world
to come up
needs
with
more
one.
sports gambling
Yeah.
sites. Yeah. And maybe like ex-coaches could get jobs on them. Who knows? You know?
Like DraftKings, sponsor of our postgame show.
Huh?
I said like DraftKings, sponsor of our postgame show.
Right. There you go. Yes. Do we talk about Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia talking about the Patriots yesterday?
I think we talked about that, but now I guess he has another gig now, the 33rd team.
What's that?
It's the website. It's some network they're trying to put together, and
Who's them?
I don't know. I don't know who's in charge of it.
3013?
The 33rd team.
Oh,
You never get any of
33rd
those emails?
Yeah.
I get those emails all the time.
Yeah. NFL 33.
No, the 33rd team.
I don't get those.
Okay, I'll show them to you.
right.
Maybe it's an off-air conversation.
You must be on a different newsletter.
It could be.
list.
Yeah, that's kind of how it comes, is as a newsletter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they announced yesterday that he was part of that too. So he's,
I'm
I'm
I
starting
don't
to
think
wonder.
he's doing enough things.
And I mean, I know we want to talk about the Patriots and the Bengals and everything. We will.
yeah.
But with all of these different gigs that he's doing, I think a lot of people feel like he's trying to put himself in the public light, show a different side of himself, and to make himself more attractive.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if it really has nothing to do with that and more to do with I'm pretty content. I'm just going to do this kind of stuff for a couple of
It
years.
might be. Or this year I'm going to do a bunch of stuff,
See
figure out
what
what
I
I
like.
like, and then settle into those one or two things.
Yeah.
You know?
Because if you look at the things he's doing, like, I'm not really surprised that he wasn't willing to jump into, say, like, because I'm sure that he had offers for, like, ESPN or Fox.
Well, I heard he
know.
had no interest in that
Yeah.
because it wasn't the format that he enjoyed.
Exactly. And I'm
Right.
not really surprised by that because
Yeah.
he wants this to delve into a X's and O's thing on the board. He wants to put Drake May up on the board and break down his game. You can't do that in like 10-second bites.
Yep.
In between everybody else on a panel of 6 on say like Fox or ESPN pregame.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if maybe he's not necessarily looking at the next job, and
Yeah.
he's just kind of trying to, as you said, trying to figure out which of
Yeah.
these formats he likes best, find his lane and stay in it.
Yeah. Well, good for him. He's busy, that's for sure.
No, I think he's got like 5 or 6 different gigs now.
Yeah. So, all right, that's Bill. But he was talking about the Patriots yesterday, and he and Patricia made a point to name all the players that the Patriots had re-signed, with the inference that these are guys that we brought to the team, and it's nice that they liked them and decided to resign them.
He's nothing if not petty.
Oh no.
That's one of the things I really like about him because he keeps a list.
Oh,
He's like me and you.
Michael Jordan. Yeah, he keeps lists. I'm probably on it, but
Well, I don't think there's much doubt that you and I are on it, but I do kind of appreciate the fact that he's human just like us,
Yeah.
and he remembers
Yeah.
when people doubt and mock and whatnot.
Yep. All right, so back to this game. I think that Christian Gonzalez is the key for the Patriots defense.
I think you're right.
And, for the offense, it's easy to just say Jacoby Brissett, but he's going to need help. So
Ramondre Stevenson.
we think, yeah.
I mean, he did it again. Like Mayo did it again, a half hour ago. He's talking about the importance of running the ball and how that's what they're going to have to rely on. And he's talking about the variations of first down runs. He's telling you they're going to run the ball on first down too. And I think that the key would be to get away from that a little bit, to try to take the burden off of Jacoby Brissett by throwing the ball. You say?
Yeah, right.
Throwing the ball, take the burden off the quarterback? Yes.
Yeah.
Make it
Easy.
more advantageous for him to have success with short, easy throws on early downs where maybe you're playing base defense instead of Hendrickson and Hubbard pinning their rears back to come and get you.
The question is anything easy in this offense? I mean, let's be honest. We saw even in practice during the preseason, sometimes 7-on-7s when no one's tackling and no one's hitting the quarterback, where it just didn't look right, even on these short passes,
Yeah.
So now it's
You're
for
right.
real. Now these guys are going to be coming full steam.
They didn't
no one
have,
knows what it's going to look
You look
like.
at the 3 preseason games; they didn't have a single stretch of really strong offensive performance at all.
Like, can you, like?
Now, I don't really care as much about the preseason as much, but it's hard to ignore it right now with this team because of the last 2 years.
The style of offense that they're telling us they're going to run requires 10, 12 play drives to get into the red zone. You can't count on them breaking one off.
And that's okay. But what has been the problem with that?
Mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's
and it's hard. It's hard to run that way.
You know, if we're being objective, that's a hard way to live for this team because of the penalties that we've seen them make, and just sustaining and executing for 12 plays. Who knows? Maybe they can do it.
Now,
I mean, maybe this game will start and it'll be a whole different Patriots team than we've seen from training camp. That would be so. Again, shirt off. My shirt would be off.
Like, I have to admit, like, the way training camp started with all the pre-snap penalties and then how much attention it got, like the players were talking about it, the coaches were talking about it. I kind of assumed after a day or two, this is going to be a point of emphasis.
Right.
This is going to get cleaned up. It never got cleaned up.
No.
Right down to the last preseason game.
Now, we haven't seen the last 2 weeks of practice, but I don't know how much you can rectify in 2 weeks. But again, it's all a mystery. We don't know what this offense is going to look like. We can make guesses from what we've seen, but nobody knows for sure. Nobody really knows for sure what the defense is going to look like.
And I do think there's a chance that Van Pelt does have that familiarity with Cincinnati's defense.
Yeah.
And maybe he can come out early with some things that he thinks will be successful against that defense. And there's a little bit of an advantage there for him because he's going against similar personnel that he's gone against with different personnel.
Yep.
So Cincinnati doesn't have the same book on Van Pelt that Van Pelt has on Anarumo.
Yeah. Well, it's always the chess game. He knows what we know that he knows,
Right.
So, but Evan had some good stats. I think the Bengals are like 1-3 to start a season against.
I don't really understand what that has to do with this week.
It really doesn't. I mean, but
it's like the Patriots haven't covered on an opening day in forever.
Know.
Like,
but people love
none
those
of those
trends.
guys are here.
I know.
So who do you bet then? Because both have terrible trends.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if you're looking at numbers, and we'll get a lot more into this tomorrow, I think it opened at 9.5, and I've seen it as low as 7.5. So people are putting money on the Patriots.
Yep.
I don't know if they think they're going to cover to win outright or just cover, but it does seem like my initial reaction. That's a pretty high number on opening day.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole Chase situation. If Chase were playing, if Chase were playing all of camp.
Well, maybe that's what's bringing it down.
If Chase was playing all of camp, I think I would say, I think I made this comment yesterday. You said I'm trying to set myself up. I just think they would have a hard time keeping up.
Yeah.
I think they'd be knocking on the door of 30 if they had Chase and Higgins full bore, ready to go. I don't think they'll be like that.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be like that unless the Patriots offense gives Cincinnati a little help.
Yeah. Watching the U.S. Open a little. Do you see Roger Goodell was at the U.S.
Goodell
Open?
was there as
he was in a suite.
as Mad Dog would say.
Yep.
Goodell.
He was in a suite, chatting it up with all the muckety mucks at the U.S. Open.
So I made an observation last night, and Beth laughed out loud. Did you see when they were showing Federer during the Tiafo match? And I might not. This might not be original, but Federer just looks to me like a Bond villain.
Yeah.
Does that people think that of him?
Oh yeah.
So I'm not the only. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I go, just look. He looks like a Bond villain. And Beth just started cracking up.
There's a million pictures of him on the internet in a tuxedo.
Okay, never mind that.
Because you have after Wimbledon, you have to dress up. And you dress in a tuxedo. So there's all kinds of pictures of him in tuxedos and stuff. Yeah, he's got that international, continental look. Cosmopolitan look.
Yeah. So what do we think? We got two Americans in a semi.
I love it.
So you're going to have one in the final no matter what. Now, would you
Guaranteed.
rather have them not facing each other in the semis so there was a chance that they could both win?
No, because
you like the guarantee?
Yeah, I think the odds are that.
Well, Sinner would probably the other.
Yeah,
one.
that's why I like the guarantee of an American. There hasn't been an American in the Open finals for like, I think 20 years.
I think
or
it's
something.
06, something like that.
Something like, yeah.
Andy Roddick.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, we're talking tennis here.
Well, that's because Fred has his tennis attire on.
I have my
today.
Fila shirt on.
Yes.
I promised it yesterday.
And he delivered.
Yeah.
Made me laugh out loud when I walked in the studio.
Old school Borg shirt.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
You and my brother would have gotten along very well.
Oh, yeah.
He was a huge board guy.
Love Borg. You know, he retired like at 25.
Yeah, but have you watched? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
You've watched the McEnroe Borg documentary and
Yeah.
all that. Like I always thought they just kind of like. He just didn't want to play anymore. He kind of got burnt out and didn't
Yeah.
want to. He lost when he left when he lost. Like
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly McEnroe was better than him and he took off.
He couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I never realized that
Weak.
growing up. I always thought he just was like one of those guys that, you know what? I don't really like to do
No,
this anymore.
Well, I think that was part of it.
But it was because he was losing.
Well, he realized what it was going to take to compete with, in particular McEnroe, and he just said, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that was a good documentary, though.
Yeah.
McEnroe's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Because he was so hated
Oh, yeah.
when he played.
But now he's loved.
But now everybody loves him.
Yeah. People realize, like, probably on all these line calls, he was right. He probably was. I don't blame him.
Well, plus, like, tough upbringing. Like, his father was tough on him. You ever read that book? You read the McEnroe biography?
I didn't read the biography, but I know of his father.
Fans are going to love this segment. Little U.S. Open / tennis history talk.
That's all right. Well, I brought it up because Goodell was at the
Goodell.
Open last night. And,
Yeah.
you wonder, like, years ago on Labor Day weekend, CBS would have the U.S. Open, so they'd have the 1 o'clock game,
Yep.
but they'd give
They would
away,
always-
they didn't have the
They
late
had
game.
no 4 o'clock window.
And now with the promise of 18 games, they're thinking they're going to take back Labor Day, the NFL, and,
Yep.
because they're going to need that extra week, and they might have to add a bye week, so they're really going to need that extra week. I wonder if, Goodell is already talking to, ESPN or whoever, hey, this is how we're going to work out that Labor Day weekend with y'all,
So let me ask you this: we'll the league kicks off tomorrow night. We talked a little bit about Kansas City and Baltimore yesterday. I put up just kind of like a overarching like season preview type stuff, with picks, award winners. Who do you like for MVP?
For the league?
Yeah. Yeah.
Prediction for MVP?
Yeah,
for
like
the
that's
league?
what I put in my notebook yesterday. I just kind of do it all, it's like everybody else, means nothing. But, some predictions for awards and whatnot and division winners, things like that. Fans like that stuff, Freddie.
Yep.
Fans, you know what? You always accuse me of not worrying about the clickbait. That's clickbait.
Yeah,
Everybody clicks on a prediction
I mean, the
page.
first thing you try to do is, all right, who do you think is going to be the best team? And who's going to be the most valuable player on that team?
So I have my most boring pick ever. Like
Call me now for
Patrick
your free
Mahomes.
reading.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just felt like, I can try to go outside the box, but I just feel like he's the best player on the best team.
Yep.
And what he did last year, to me, was so Brady-esque
Yep.
of just dragging a team that really wasn't all that great.
Nope.
Offensively, anyway. Their defense was pretty good. But I feel like if that was a chance. You got to get them. When they're down, you got to get them.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping and I'm predicting that Kansas City has a drop-off. They'll be going for 3 in a row. The odds against that, you pick the field
Oh,
and
absolutely.
something like that.
I would pick against them.
Yeah, so that's why I won't go with the obvious pick there. You also sometimes with these things you look for the emerging team. Who's the team that, maybe it's Detroit that goes all the way, and
I have Detroit in the Super Bowl, but
yeah,
I mean they were in the conference championship
no,
last year.
and-
That's not
but if
necessarily.
that's the case, does Jared Goff get the nod for MVP?
Yeah, I didn't give him much consideration, but I did hear something this morning that bodes well for Detroit. They have an absurd amount of indoor games, Detroit, and that's the key for Goff.
Yeah,
He's a different guy outside, especially if the weather's bad.
yeah.
So
I mean-
that could bode well for him.
I mean, if the Bengals,
I had
You
Joe
know, there's
Burrow
a-
last year,
yeah.
and then he ends up he came out of camp hurt, and then he got hurt again.
right?
So it never even had
Yeah.
a chance. He had his worst season. So that was a bad pick.
who, like if the 49ers finally get over the hump, well, not that they haven't got to the Super Bowl, but
McCaffrey.
yeah, like he he's an obvious choice.
So I picked Tyreek Hill for Offensive Player of the Year because McCaffrey's won it. Like he won it. It's hard to repeat in those awards. I think they like to change it up.
You got CeeDee Lamb,
Yep. He was in the hunt.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Patrick Surtain agreed to a big deal today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So deals are still being made right up to the deadline. So I guess there's hope for Chase.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no, he wasn't holding out, though, was he? Surtain?
I don't know. It was just an extension, I think, right?
This is weird. So something I thought that might spur some action. I don't know if you heard. Did you see any of the Trent Williams stuff? Trent Williams, we talked about yesterday.
Yeah,
he signed it.
He got a big deal.
He finally, he came in. He got some guaranteed money. It was pretty team friendly after all that. But he had some interesting comments. We didn't mention the situation with Ricky Pearsall, their rookie wide receiver, who got shot over the weekend and ultimately got placed on NFI. So he's going to miss at least 4 games. But Trent Williams said that affected him, and he was like, "What am I holding out for when these kinds of things are going on?" And he said he thought it was important to get back and try to help be supportive of Pearsall. And I understand that it's still about money. He's still got a lot of money. I'm not trying to make Trent Williams out to be Mother Teresa here, but I just wonder if maybe a guy like Chase takes a step back. Maybe he heard that, maybe he didn't, and maybe he looks at it and say, "Yeah, you know what? There are more important things to worry about."
Yeah.
Because with Chase, and I love Jamar Chase, I think he's a tremendous player. But CeeDee Lamb got his big deal. Justin Jefferson got his big deal. And there have been other guys. They get them now. They're 4 years. They were getting ready to play on their 5th-year option.
Right.
Chase is a year early. He's only played 3 years
He's got
in his
2 years
in his
left.
4th year.
Right.
Yes. So thank goodness we have
it
Mike
makes it a
Dussault to
little-
save us from our tennis talk.
Makes it a little bit more complicated.
No, so
yeah.
I just wonder, and I thought that, Mike, did you see the Trent Williams stuff with him talking about the impact that the Ricky Pearsall shooting had? And he was like, I took a step back and I was kind of like, what am I doing?
wow.
There's more important things than
Really?
Holding out for
contract
the
holds
last
out. And
nickel.
again, he got money, so I'm not trying to say he came back for nothing because of his fallen teammate. But
Wow.
I just
he
wonder
didn't
if
fall,
maybe
Paul.
like a
He's
guy
okay.
like Jamar Chase, looks at that
Perspective.
and says, "Yeah, I am a year early, and what if something like this happens?" Or the other way around, I need the money now because you never know,
Yeah.
how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Nice.
You didn't see that?
No, I did not see that. I was just in the locker room.
No, I know
everybody.
you were.
Yeah.
And so,
So
what-
what's the
has returned
Fred?
from
Do you
the
mind?
locker room.
Do you mind?
No.
go ahead.
Mood?
Oh, the mood was a little serious, I would say.
Oh, no music bumping.
AB?
No,
AB,
they're getting,
all
they're getting ready for
business?
practice. So we talked to Juwan Bentley and Jonathan Jones, 2 veteran leaders of the defense, and Bentley is always pretty serious, but it's just you kind of see like my guy Peppers that there wasn't a lot of joking around, at least on the defensive side of the ball. It wasn't overwhelmingly serious, but I just thought those couple guys that spoke seemed pretty locked in. Sound like they're preparing for Chase, as Mayo said earlier, like he's gonna play. That's what Jonathan Jones said. Just saying what a good player he is. So a little bit of a mood. So a little bit of a different setup here, going to the locker room before you guys are okay. You guys, it's like the old days. Huh?
Well, that's what so we went back to our roots and we carried the show the way we do every other day. But this was only 2 of us today.
Well, we'll get Evan practices at 1, so I think he'll go out there and we'll see get an injury report today and
Got a lot of stuff. It's happening.
off
It's
we
happening,
go.
Mike. It's happening.
It's all
Who
happening.
was the major scrum today?
Bentley was the first one, and Jones, and otherwise it's it's not so much scrums. It's kind of going back to how it was my first year, where reporters are kind of floating around and talking to guys, and guys seem pretty willing to
Well,
talk.
I think
so.
At least I've been into the locker room this year a few times, and it seems like there's more players available.
Yeah,
Like in the past, there'd be like 2 or 3 players there.
everybody's
and then
there pretty
they'd
much.
leave, and then maybe one
I
other
think
would come in.
I think this is more like the timing is
Yeah.
more like the old days, and I
Yeah.
agree with you, Fred. I also thought, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. What was it like today with the media? Like the contingent was
lot.
huge.
Huge.
Okay, because I've noticed. This was the first day that locker room was open that I didn't go in. I feel like there's been fewer media people here.
Oh yeah.
Now today's Wednesday.
Yeah,
That's
today.
always the huge day.
Yeah, that's the
all the
big one.
TV, all the
Yeah.
TV
It's when they
cameras are
give
usually
Chick-fil-A,
here.
so they're all down.
That is true, Fred.
Believe me, you don't think. I think some of these guys, this is like their only
They
big
su-
meal of the week.
Little supplement.
Yeah,
You mean the media, right? Not
yeah,
the
in the media. I think some of them, they're
But
not-
yeah, Wednesday's
not doing
always
too
the
well.
biggest day by far for
Yeah.
media. There's all the TV cameras are here, and they get all their stuff for the week, and they sort of cycle through it. But I just, anecdotally, definitely the other day, it was not a very big media group.
No, it was big today. Andy Hart was there. I guess he's
Really?
sneaking in.
I
Before he
talked
goes
to
out on
Andy
the
a little
radio.
bit, and he says that he's
I can see him. I'm gonna be in the locker room.
no. He says no. He says he's going to try to make an effort to get in the locker room once a week, and
What about the other
as long,
sports?
as long as he can get back and forth. Well, I think he'll probably do a little of that as well. I don't know, like if he'll do it every week.
Yeah.
And he already said, he goes, I'll probably get sick of that because it just makes it for a really long day.
He's got to drive to Dartmouth, to wherever
Yeah.
EEI is,
Yeah.
back to here, back to EEI.
Well, he'll drive from Dartmouth to here to EEI.
All right.
So EEI doesn't provide him a car service.
Yeah,
you can't
don't you think they
a
should?
driver.
The afternoon show, they should. I
You should
think
have a
that'd be part of
driver.
it, yeah.
And he'll probably need a bodyguard eventually.
No, it's I would just say though, Paul, that really, it's definitely more access to these guys in the locker room as it's set up. But
The timing is just so much
oh,
better.
it's much better being able to write. It's also just I think it's good for the players because they're just kind of getting ready for practice. So it's there's when it used to be in the afternoon, everybody would kind of leave, and
They're all looking to get home.
Yeah.
So
right.
just think about that from a logistical standpoint. If you're a player,
Yeah,
you
you
have
got
to
a
be in the
minute.
locker room to get dressed, to go out to practice,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to I'm getting undressed to go home.
Yeah. Right.
What do you think is going to cause a player to linger in the locker room a little bit longer?
Definitely not the media.
And definitely not the urgency to get out to practice.
Right. It is funny though. As you see some of the guys different, like how they get ready for practice. Like some guys are showering. Other,
Did anybody say anything to Bentley about that? Because you and I have
No.
sort of been.
Who showers before practice?
I know a few guys do actually. It's I'm like,
But
what
you
do
and
they
I were
shower
talking
for?
about Bentley. Just
Yeah.
seems to like he comes in and it's like you look at the clock and you're like, don't they have practice in like 10 minutes? And he's just like,
Well, if
quick
you,
change. He's like Clark Kent
Yeah.
in the thing, and all of a
if you
sudden
were the
he's out in
quarterback,
uniform.
would you insist your center shower before practice?
Yeah, especially with a loofah,
Yeah.
clean things out
Yeah.
down there. I don't think the top of my hands.
Brady did.
So you were at Gerard,
I was a draw.
and you heard him talking about the offensive line, how they're still working through it. It could
Yeah.
look similar to what we saw in the Commanders.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out, is that before So got hurt or after So
Right.
got
Do you know
hurt?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the group that started or the
No.
group that basically had to play with the ones.
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder what that meant.
I think Lowe to me is just the big piece. I mean, and that's
And
sounds
he hasn't
crazy.
been out there, right?
He was out there. So wasn't out there on Monday last practice.
but
we
Lowe
saw.
was.
But Lowe was watching, and I don't know how you would term
Oh,
that. Limited participation, I guess.
Yeah,
and-
my
and
guess
maybe
is
just
they're
out there
both
for
going to
the start.
be, well, they might be out. They might be DNP today.
Yeah, I
We'll
mean
see.
that's interesting, but it sounds like regardless they're gonna rotate some guys, and I mean
Yeah.
they brought in
Gerard
another
said that the other
monstrous tackle
How
who
did,
walked through the
how did he
locker
put
room.
it the other day? Like it would be naive to think
Think
you're
you
going
can
to
go out
get
there and
through
play
the
60,
opening
70
day and
snaps.
all these guys are going to play the whole game
Yeah,
up front.
Yeah.
And Bill used to do that too.
Yeah.
You know, Bill often rotated linemen on the early weeks, and and then you kind of settle into your five.
The other giant offensive lineman, I apologize, I don't have his name in front of me. They just
6'9".
signed yesterday. 60 walked through the locker room. It's a little,
Oh, this is the guy they
Trent
just
Brown
signed?
vibes.
It's just signed.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just signed him, and then they previously signed another offensive tackle who's similar size. So I don't know if that's something that
Well,
they like or if
didn't
that's
they-
just what was
They,
available.
didn't they sign Farley? What's his name?
No,
No,
they had him in
worked
for
him
a
out.
workout.
Caleb
Oh,
Farley.
Caleb Farley.
Yeah.
They had him out for a
Yeah.
workout.
I like
Okay.
that workout, by the way. I
Yeah.
like the idea of that. That's
Yeah.
a Belichick-like
Sure.
Totally.
inquiry.
Yeah.
First round pick. There's talent there. Hasn't worked out. Doesn't matter to us why it hasn't worked out. Let's see
Right.
if there's talent.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we talked about cornerback depth on the show? And that's something I think that maybe if that guy, you take a flyer on him, is he better than Marco
Yeah, he
Wilson,
was
Alex Austin?
highly touted coming.
a first
in the
round
draft.
pick.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
It's a real back injury, like serious back injury, though, I think, with part of
We've
it.
dealt
like,
with guys with
he's
back
had-
injuries
Yeah.
before.
Gronk, it worked out
You ever
fine.
hear of Gronk,
Yeah.
Mike?
Maybe you've heard of Gronk. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Right. What else? What else did you glean from Gerard today?
I think it was more just philosophical of like, it's really starting now. Like all the stuff we talk about all summer, it's all fun and like, but it's none of it really actually matters. And like a game is truth. Like we're going to get truth this weekend, whatever way it goes. And then that's going to just start the narrative. We're almost going to start fresh. So in some ways, this last few days feel like just, I don't know, a kind of a throwaway period of like, all right, we know everything. We've talked about it all summer. Let's just get these guys out there and see a game. And I don't know, I kind of got that vibe of these guys. They're ready. They're sick of practice and going against each other. They're ready to go out there and play.
They talked all summer about we're going to be a running team, and he repeated it today.
Yep.
We're going to have to run the ball, and we were talking about who are your keys on offense and defense. We both agree Ramondre Stevenson has to be a key on if they're true to their word.
Yeah.
Maybe they're throwing us a curveball, and they're going to, throw the ball all day. But I doubt that.
I can't imagine a first half that he doesn't get 10 carries.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to tell you he's going to get 20, 25 carries for the game because I don't know what the score is going to be. Mm-hmm. But I think I can almost guarantee you he's going to see a lot of action early in the game.
Yeah, and I think they'll put Gibson in there a lot too. I think it'll be pretty healthy balance between them. A little bit more skewed towards Ramondre, but yeah, just what's it going to look like? I thought Tommy Kern had a good question this morning, directly asking Gerard something that we've all talked about of, how different is this wide zone scheme from what you guys have been doing the last couple of years? Because that's all we talked about in 2022 was Matty P's in here. He's trying to put the San Francisco offense in. They went there, and we saw, not to do comparison, but remember that practice where it was like, they're trying it again. It was just over and over. They're trying to rep it, and they never quite could get it. So, in that, and as well as asking Gerard, do these guys fit that system and what you're trying to do? So, I don't know. I thought his answer was interesting of like, there's really only, 6 runs, I think is what he said. I was waiting for Evan to be like, what? That's not true.
I can't, Fred read that quote to me, and I was like, he was like, the gap, this, and then trick runs.
Well, trickier runs.
On third down.
That sounds like a lot.
Right.
Like, sounds like plural.
No, I'm like, duo inside. I'm like, I've acquired a little bit of knowledge, the jet sweep.
Jet sweep.
All that
power.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to see how it all comes
blast.
together. A belly. Oh, man, those were a high school playbook, right?
Hated belly.
Belly. Oh, hi, Matt. So I think we're off. It's the first Wednesday, and we'll get Jacoby this afternoon. So I'm liking this new schedule, and hopefully it's.
The new schedule is fantastic for all involved. But are you at all surprised, Mike, that Mayo continues to sort of say how well they've run the ball this summer?
Seems like he's leaning into it for sure. It's.
Like,
I don't know. I thought they've had their moments. I just don't think
I think the Washington game was really the only time that they ran the ball well. And I think they ran the ball very well against Washington.
Yeah.
And there's
like
no way to tell in practice whether or not that was a good run.
I would.
I think you can.
Yeah, I think you can.
When there's a guy hitting the guy before he gets to the line of scrimmage, it's not a good run.
So then there wasn't, that.
And there was an awful lot of that.
There was. And I think the ones that were open kind of stood out. And I think they had a good couple days here and there. I wouldn't say it's
I just thought they were few and far between on the practice field.
Yeah.
Now, against Washington, if they can run the ball like that.
Yeah, I can't tell in practice.
It's almost like you have to tell yourself that because you've been saying all summer, we have to run the ball this off. So, you have to hope. Because if you can't run the ball, you feel like this whole offense might be a non-starter.
And I would just argue, like, my tired trope of, teams that run the ball. They ran the ball really well against Washington, right? Averaged over 5 yards a carry, and they did it for all 4 quarters, especially early in the game. How many points they score?
Right.
Yeah.
10.
No, it's
hard to score that way.
Well, and we were talking about if you are going to pound the ball, you're talking about sustained drives. You're talking about 10, 12 play drives.
Yeah.
And that's tough for this team, at least from what we've seen with the mistakes they've made.
Absolutely.
And executing on every play. You have to be fundamentally sound to, sustain those drives.
Especially
maybe we'll all be surprised. Maybe they'll come out and they'll be a different team than we've seen in these preseason games.
I think you hit on it, Fred, because that's I think something that Paul and I talked about a lot when we were doing the pregame shows was just that you have no sense of if they're able to string those 10-play, 12-play drives together because you haven't really seen a lot in practice of. Where it's just live, and granted, I don't totally put all my stock in that, but you just haven't really seen it. It's a lot of new pieces. How are they going to be able to just suddenly come up with it this week against the Bengals? We'll see.
All right, well, it's not going to be easy, but you know what is easy? Bud Light. It's easy to drink, it's easy to enjoy, and it's the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And talk about furniture.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
you need something to do before this week's kickoff. Why not get your living room game day ready by playing the Bob's Discount Furniture Dare to Compare Challenge? When you dare to compare Bob's Renegade Motion Sofa with the competition, you get customizable modular design, Bobopedic power reclining seats, charging ports, and plenty of storage for hundreds less than other brands. That's a winning play. So stop in and see how much you can save when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, my food's here. Paul no longer eats. Very upset about that.
My doctor was happy today.
Yeah. What's that?
My doctor was very happy with me today.
Good for you. No, that's good. That's good, Paul.
Has nothing to do with that. You know that.
Not,
I'm not on
Was
a
it the
diet.
going to the Michelob Ultras last night that he?
I might have I'll give you a little preview tomorrow. I think that the set might look a little different tomorrow when we're doing picks. I will be taking part in lunch.
oh, okay.
We have the other desk.
We gotta
All
get him
right.
a tray, maybe.
This is all a protest because you don't have
It's
the big
not,
desk.
it's not a protest. It's just not conducive to eating.
I manage.
You do.
I figure it out.
You do. You also manage to stain a lot of your clothing.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back. A lot of emails, calls coming in. We'll get to them right after this. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
It's time for another episode of Patch from the Past podcast. Matt Smith along with Paul Perillo. Pleased to be joined by number 28. Can you believe that? Number 28. It is great to see Corey Dillon here. Corey, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. It's great to see you. It's been a while. I know you came back in December, I
Right.
think last year. You're here today. You're going into the Bengals Ring of Honor or Hall of Fame. It seems like you're reconnecting with the franchises that you played with, and that's got to make you feel great.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I kind of went off the the reservation, so to say, for many years. So just getting back and coming back around the organization, it's a good feeling.
So full disclosure, we did try to get you in December too. That's one of our few failures. now,
Yes,
right?
yes, you're right, Paul.
We didn't get him the first time around, but it is great. I would echo what Matt said. We're going to get into the 2004 season, but that is one that I think has a special place in the heart of a lot of people in this area. That 2004 team was a special team, and I'm really looking forward to getting some of your thoughts.
Oh man, it was great to be a part of that team, man. There's so many Hall of Fame caliber players on that team. It's crazy. That's one of the favorite teams out of my whole career I played for, and dude, I had a great time. That was one hell of a run.
So let's get to it. It's April. It's before the draft.
Right.
Were there conversations going on? Did you think that was a possibility, or did it catch you off guard, Corey?
No, man, to be honest, I'm at home. I'm thinking like worst case scenario type things. So I'm thinking like, man, I may have to sit out a year or whatever. I think the Raiders was real serious about bringing me in, and that was my first option, and that's what I was thinking. Like, man, I might be going to Oakland. So to actually get the call from my agent was like, and he told me like this, he was just like, pack a bag. we're going to Boston. And no, and I said, for what? You know, I'm like, for what? What we going to Boston for? And he just told me, man, shut up. Just pack a bag and meet me at the airport. So actually coming down here and meeting with Bill and Scott Pioli, man, we had a great conversation. And it was simple, man. It didn't take that long. It was just like, hey, you know what? Do you think you could play for us? I said, absolutely. We shook hands, and that was it. And the rest is history.
So at the end in Cincinnati, you know, we were only watching from
Right.
afar, you know, so we're seeing the highlights, we're hearing the
Right.
the chatter, and we were like, well, does this guy really want to play? But it got to the point where it was so bad for you with that organization that
Right.
you felt strongly enough, as you just said, that you thought you might just sit out rather than play for them again. It must have felt like a rebirth to come here and play for the Patriots.
Oh, dude, it was so refreshing, you know, just coming from the situation I came in. We were at odds ends about just what transpired that whole year. So, you know what, I'm coming off an injury and just some of the stuff that was going on during that year, I mean, just compounded the situation. So actually to get a fresh new start and actually come to a organization that winning is everything, I embraced that. That's what I wanted to do.
Did you have any preconceived notions? I mean, it feels like it's almost like a get out of jail free card for you. Maybe
Yeah.
you would have accepted to go any place.
Posted bail.
Yeah. Okay. But here you come into the defending Super Bowl champions. You don't know anything about the organization other than they're the defending champs. What was your feeling coming in?
Ah, man, that was a lot of anxiety, to be honest with you, because you don't know what to expect. They already got something in place and they're rolling, and then you got this notion of like what they really need me for. They just won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So I think some people think it's easy to be traded to a Super Bowl champion. Man, there's more pressure on you to make your mark and to contribute to that team. So I mean, I embraced that situation as well. I just wanted to come in and, you know what, do my part. And for the most part, man, my teammates were great. They accepted me. The organization accepted me. Bill let me do my thing, man. So it kind of worked out.
So that's interesting that you had some anxiety coming
Yeah.
into
Really interesting.
Right. So what was, what you said that they really accepted you. What was the moment that you sort of felt accepted?
Well, hey, some of these players already knew, right? So that kind of bridged the gap of getting comfortable.
Meaning that you could play. Like in 2001, they had to face him. Like
Yeah.
guys like
I was
Brewski,
there.
Yeah.
McGinnis.
Yeah. So, I mean, just breaking the ice and getting to know these guys. And, I mean, just coming here during training camp and us joking around and getting familiar with each other, we kind of, everybody was just like, oh, okay. So some of the things I hear ain't what they are. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure coming in, due to the fact that how I left Cincinnati, they were like, can we trust him? Is he gonna be able to fit in with us? Can he do, just things like that of that nature. And just coming in and they seeing my personality, like I'm just like them, I think kind of broke the ice, and we started gelling, and they let me do my thing.
So there was an acclimation period, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
Training camp, preseason,
Definitely.
maybe. Okay.
Definitely. I mean, and then on top of that, I'm pretty sure people was still wondering if I could play as well.
Right.
So, yeah. So it was a lot of things going on, a lot of things to have anxiety about, to be honest with you. But just being me and my personality, nothing I couldn't handle, and I think I came in and fit in with the guys good.
Was it really quick in training camp? I mean, obviously they were a good team.
Right.
But I always felt that 04 team was the first one that was sort of, there was no asterisk, there was no
Right.
buts, they were just dominant. And was there a moment where you just sort of felt like, wow, this team can really be special?
I think when we went off to that 5-0 start, man, I was just like, yeah, we're pretty damn good. You know what I mean? And I don't. Only way we lose is if we beat ourselves, type thing. And I kind of felt that, because we're dominant on defense, and we got great players on offense. So I really felt overall, only way we losing if we beat our stuff and make mistakes. So it during that whole season, I mean, everybody, I like players holding players accountable, offense and defense. That's what we did all year, man. So it panned out, and it kept us focused as just coming in and the famous quote, just do your job, and that's what we did, and players held everybody accountable for just doing your job. So, and if you're off, you're not, other players could sense that, you know what I mean? And it's just the confidence another player will give you when you may be struggling a little bit to go out there and perform, man, means everything. That's signs of a good team.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
Paul's, calling out numbers, and I was like, yeah, I just don't see 12 out there yet, like making a joke. And Paul's
and I go, they gave 12.
12? Who's 12? Like, where's
That's how little.
Dude, did you see 12 out there? I'm like,
I said it like 4 times. I literally said it 4 times, and I was like, they didn't give out 12.
And then the look on your face was like, oh, why you playing me like that? I'm like,
playing the role of Fred.
I don't like giving out 87 either, just for the record.
Yeah.
I don't
well,
like
that
87
But is
either.
there ever going to be a time where you're allowed to do that? Like 12, I get.
Yeah.
That's just the way I
I'm
feel.
sorry, I'm over it.
McCourty.
I mean, love Devin.
Yeah.
At least
He
give
didn't
him a
even
new
play
shirt.
last year.
It's to me, Devin McCourty is bigger than football. Like, I think Devin McCourty is like one of the best people that's ever walked through this building.
People.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
I think that there's
And he's recognized as such.
yeah,
Right.
I think that in other sports that would be recognized even bigger. This is not one of those.
In your
sports.
argument, no one ever should be Devin McCourty. I get that. But his number is different.
That's just the way I feel.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered. It's Paul, it's Deuce, it's me, it's Matt, Evan.
That was a good memory right there. Mike making fun of me
This year.
on the
Let's
practice
go.
field.
Yeah. It's funny.
He
Matt-
got me.
12.
Though. He got me good. 12. Who's 12?
How dare they?
Matt will be by later. I mean,
Evan.
not Matt. Evan.
Practice
will be by
report. Maybe we
later.
can spin his song for him.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I need a locker room song.
Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. And let's go to the Patriots hotline right now. Let's see what our listeners and viewers have to say. Anthony's in Toronto. What's up, Anthony? Anthony in Toronto. I guess he isn't there anymore.
It's sad.
Yeah.
He'll call back, I'm sure.
Call back.
Yeah.
Toronto.
It'd be, oh, well.
It's like when Danny Amendola hung up on Adam Jones.
It'd be
He'll call
nice.
back, I'm sure.
It'd be nice when they hang up. Like if they hung up, like they're gone from the screen. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
we
I'd like to make fun of you, but I don't think you did anything wrong there. He wasn't waiting all that long either.
No.
It's only like 20, 25 minutes.
Just rude. I mean, just rude. Let's get to some of these emails that are coming in.
Read them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read them out loud.
Mike
That
in
looks like a long one.
Mike in Boca Raton talking about
Nice.
the JE11 Games with Name podcast. He said there was some good nuggets in there. He had Josh McDaniels. I heard there was like a 2.5
2 hours and
hour
20
thing.
minutes.
I am through an
So-
hour and 20 minutes.
So I
of
now
it.
look forward to this email to
Right,
tell me
yeah.
what I will never listen to.
Some of the nuggets. Josh discussed how Belichick would have the coaches towards the end of the year look for plays they might run in the playoffs that were on game tape. For this game, that meant the double pass in ineligible receiver plays. Okay. I guess he was talking about the Ravens game, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the games with names. Was the
Right.
Ravens.
Which
Oh,
is-
I see.
That's yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Belichick told Josh to save the ineligible receiver play for the second half.
Yep.
He didn't want the Ravens to be able to make halftime adjustments. He thought it would be more difficult to make sideline adjustments. Good. Bill told Josh not to use many running plays. Focus on the pass. Josh told the story about sharing this with Dante. He compared it to telling your wife you wanted to take an overseas golf trip with the guys only. That's a good one.
That's a funny line.
Yeah. And Josh explained how former Patriots coach Dean Pease called the blitz on the double pass, which was the perfect defense for the Patriots to be successful on that play.
Yeah, I haven't gotten all the way through it.
Yeah.
An hour and 20, but some good stuff in there that he kind of mentioned, and I thought it was funny because he said the week of the game prep for the Ravens, Josh went into Bill's office, and Bill was like, he would say something cryptic, kind of just like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be a lot of running this week. You know, he'd say something kind of like that, so Josh would be like, so do you not want me to put any running plays in? You know, it's kind of, and then he had to go and share it with Dante. I forget what the exact stats were. I mean, they ran the ball like 8 times the whole game. Of course, they were down, 14 zip quick, and they were always kind of chasing.
They
so
were
they were
down
going
14
to
twice.
throw anyway. But, one really interesting point, and this keeps coming up, and it's just something that I've never quite been able to reconcile in my head, is the perception out there that Bill Belichick wanted to do it all himself, and that, he didn't want to listen to anybody, and, my way or the highway kind of thing. And again, in this podcast, it was reiterated by Edelman and Josh of how much he would look for input from everybody. And what Edelman kind of said was, he'll come up and ask you, but he said, if you don't know, don't make it up, because I'm not coming back to you again. And, even Edelman said, I was surprised Bill come up to me and say, what are you seeing, these kind of things. So, they just, both of them kind of expressed confusion as to why, that this wasn't something that people, and because I thought Halberstam wrote it in the book too of, I don't know, you can criticize Belichick for a lot of things. I just don't know, where the truth lies in this one, because he does seem like he valued input from everybody. It didn't mean that he took it from everybody, but that he was willing to talk to players, to his coaches. He wanted that so he could make the best decision possible.
Yeah.
It's just
I would say the
quite
difference
jived in.
was toward the end, he didn't have the answers. Those guys didn't
people
have
to
the
tell.
answers.
Yeah.
Josh wasn't there anymore. Guys like Edelman that had done it weren't there anymore.
Ernie.
And he's dealing with a lot of coaches who, frankly, weren't quite ready for the jobs that they had.
Yeah. I think when it came to game planning, there's no one even in his stratosphere.
And he just, like that anecdote that Mike just explained, Bill had the game plan on offense.
Right.
He's saying, I don't think we're going to run the ball that much this week.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Josh is like, okay, so you don't want me to put any running plays in this week?
Yeah.
And then we saw that in the 09 one where Brady sits with Belichick, and they're going over this, that, and the other thing, and then Brady gets up, he goes, okay, I'll go tell Billy O.
Yeah.
It's really not cryptic. Bill Belichick put stuff together, and then those guys implement it.
I think what people question, and even people within the team question, is it's more the drafting and the free agent stuff. And it's like, okay, my kid's a walk-on on Rutgers, and Greg Schiano's the coach, and all of a sudden we're drafting Rutgers guys.
I think that's
we never did that before.
Yeah.
I mean, these coaches and scouts, they know what's going on. It's not, and they question that. Like, if you're just gonna, and not that obviously people that he got from Rutgers were good, like McCourty, but like if you're just gonna do that, what do you need us for?
I think that's a great way to put it, Fred. Like, I mean, that's maybe where the line is drawn, where it was when it was coaching and it was game plan stuff. Yeah, very much wanted input, and when it was what players I'm picking, I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt over everybody else.
And I mentioned Greg Schiano, but there were other guys that he wanted to do favors for. Because when an NFL team takes a player from a certain college, that's a badge of honor for that college and
especially the
that head coach.
Yeah.
Oh, look how many of my guys made it to the NFL, and we're not even a big school. So Bill was doing that guy a favor for whatever reason, and scouts see that, and it's like, well, we're putting in all this work, and you're drafting a guy for other reasons. I think that was
speaking of the badge of honor for the colleges. Did you guys happen to see the thing that was making the rounds on Twitter this morning? In the off season, former Alabama players have signed contracts combined worth over $1 billion with a B dollars.
Woo.
Wow.
Like Jalen Waddle and Tua and all
Barmore.
Barmore.
By the way, I buried the lead. Barmore was in the locker room too.
Barmore was in the locker room too.
No, I didn't talk to anybody, but
so
hanging out with the
I have a
D-line
question
guys.
about Barmore, and I'm not a lawyer, so I will ask a question I don't have the answer to. And I believe today was the first Mayo press conference that I did not either attend or read the entirety of the transcript
Yeah.
yet. They put him on NFI according to the Wire, the NFL Wire. They designated him as one of their 2 guys designated to return.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other one was Marty Marpole.
Yep.
Why? Why do you think?
Because they think he might return.
Well, do you think that?
I think it was more just let's leave the door open. There's no information of we think he's going to be able to return, but
Yeah.
we don't have anyone else to use this on right now.
Yeah.
Let's just keep the door open. Who knows? Maybe he's able to come
But
back.
here's the thing: is they didn't need to have 2. You can only have 2 the day of final cuts, the
Yeah.
final roster cut down date. You can
Yeah,
only
yeah.
have 2,
Mhm.
but you can have as many as 8.
Mm-hmm. During
You
into
might
the
need
season.
you might need that
Yeah.
during the season.
Well, I mean, I would say
Unless
he's a
I'm-
player worth. He's a player worth taking that risk.
Unless I'm misunderstanding the way the rule was
Yeah.
written to me,
No, I mean, I think he's worth having the risk. Another funny thing I just overheard was Aquale talking to Barmore, and he's literally laying out exactly what I laid out. It was like, man, 2 years ago you got hurt, and I was in there, and I played a bunch, and then last year you got hurt, and I was in there.
They were
you know,
talking
and you were
to
in
each
there,
other?
yeah. And then this year you're hurt, and I'm going to be back in there. So they were kind of pointing out the last 2 seasons.
they can never
Aquale-
seem to play together.
Yeah, right. They never seem to be out there at the same time.
No,
But-
I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. I
Yeah.
don't really think we've talked about it on the show. That is a minute detail that came out of cuts last
Do you
week.
think it's a little curious that we haven't heard any prognosis? Like, hey, things will look,
Right.
So
Right.
I'm a little curious as to why no one has asked Mayo about it.
yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. I mean, him being in the locker room, though, maybe it's a sign that there's more information, or at least he seems like he's doing better. He's got it under control. But
I remember back in the day when Robert Edwards suffered that, really tragic knee injury at the Pro Bowl when he was playing the beach game. So the next year, obviously he was out, the whole next year, and every once in a while he'd pop in the locker room, and I think Bruce Armstrong once goes, "Hey, Robert, son, they'll mail the check to you, bro. they'll mail it to you. You don't need to come in and get it."
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's funny. I forget who earlier this season though, or after Barmore was out, just said, we want him around more. We want him to come in. So it was just good to see him there. It's always those guys get hurt. You feel like they disappear into the nether and see you
That
next
used to be the
offseason.
thing. Out of coaches didn't want hurt guys around.
Yeah.
Could
be a couple more nuggets though from the Edelman thing that I thought were interesting. Just I never put together that Edelman kind of felt like a Billy O guy because he came in with Billy O as the offensive coordinator, and then when Josh came in, Edelman initially kind of felt like he was going to get iced out, and I think he said Josh brought back Dante Stallworth. I think Gaffney. He said Gaffney too. I remember Stallworth coming back, and maybe it's like 2013. Or
I
something.
definitely remember Stallworth.
I'm not sure about Gaffney.
I don't remember Gaffney.
Yeah, but
Deion
I thought that
Branch
was kind of
came back,
interesting.
too.
I never thought of it quite that way. They talked about him, and he said the 49ers were offering him more money like to go out there, Edelman, and he ended up sticking around here, and obviously it all started to click. But no, good nuggets. I enjoyed it. I haven't listened to any of those podcasts before, which I didn't realize going in is that he I mean, I'm stupid, I know, but he takes the games with names and then he just talks about that game with one person. It sounds like he lets the guest pick which game they're going to do.
It's a good theme, and
we always talk about it all the time. Paul, that's Paul's thing.
I feel like Mike and I invented this. And I'm not lying. I feel like we were way ahead of the curve.
Well, that's like how many Patriot games with names that you can remember.
Yeah.
That's an easy way in. But he's done like the A-Rod slapping game, and so he's branching out a little bit.
He goes
into,
to other sports.
Yeah, initially I thought it was just him kind of playing the greatest hits with, Ernie.
Oh,
and
that's
bringing people.
okay.
But it's more, it has a little bit more legs than just being limited to Patriots games.
And he's got the personality to pull it off too. Edelman.
Oh, yeah.
He's good
No,
like that.
He was good. It was good. He's got his guy laying everything out, and I mean, I enjoy the little bit of behind the scenes. One other thing that stood out to me was just that when they had the bye week, how it's he said a lot of people think like, oh, the bye week, it's like about getting healthy and stuff, and he's like, we would really try to figure out a way to get an advantage in these games, and what can we do that isn't on tape yet that we can come up. I mean, they mentioned they tried to throw the double pass against Kansas City in 2014, but they waved it off because it wasn't there, so they saved it. So just that little beyond. Josh is great. I mean, I have trouble. I was saying it to Paul, I think yesterday at our drinks, that like I just have so much trouble reconciling like the person that I've seen a few times in person and kind of the vibe he gets, and then these Raider players all, seem to really not like him. And I don't know if he puts on a different facade when he's coaching or what, but he generally, to me, seems like, a nice guy, a guy that I would want to play for.
I never had anything resembling a bad interaction with Josh.
No.
And he was here for a long time.
Yeah.
When we go back, I'm not saying like, Josh and Paul, they're great friends. No, we're not, but I go back to like the early 2000s sitting down with him and Brian Dable when they were both coaching assistants.
Yep.
They used to write out the formations on cards, like index cards, and have to
about that a
log
little
them
bit.
all and put them in like a loose leaf notebook and stuff like that. And I just I'm with Mike. I can't really understand. Guys fail. Like there's some guys that are just great assistant coaches. They're just not cut out to be head coaches. That I understand. This I don't. The visceral reaction you get when you talk to people from Denver and now with the Raiders.
Yeah.
When it comes to Josh McDaniels, I don't get.
And even when we saw him out there, like we went to a press conference out there with, listened to him in his element, and it still seemed like the same Josh. And then, he's gone and they're lighting up stogies in the locker room afterwards, like ding dong, the witch is dead. Like,
they did not like him.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. Strange.
Aaron's in Utah. What's up, Aaron?
Hey guys, this is a different Aaron in Utah. Long time, second time caller. Just wanted to reach out and get your ideas on labeling and expectations. A lot of the people are saying the Chargers are the Ravens of the South. I was wondering if we might be labeled as the Browns in the East. We got the coach, we've got Jacoby, we've got a strong defense, just like the Browns did last year. I'll take it off from here. Thank you.
Okay.
Oof.
Could we be the Browns of last year?
Well, I think
in our division.
I think there's some. Oh, is that what he's trying to say?
I don't know. Like he said, the Chargers are the Browns.
The Chargers.
Of the South. I think he meant the West.
The Ravens, but I don't I don't understand why. Other than, like Harbaugh's brother is now the coach of the Chargers. Is that why?
Oh.
Well, they're going to run the ball.
I don't know. I didn't really understand the.
Like Jim Harbaugh has been a
metaphor.
guy who believes in the running game.
Right.
Like that's the kind of style.
Well, so does John.
But he's not. Well, John has a running quarterback.
Right.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Like
that's
wasn't.
the
They weren't a
Ravens.
running team necessarily when Joe Flacco was winning
converted
Super
it
Bowls.
into
Yeah.
Like this is Lamar Jackson running zone reads and whatnot. For Cleveland, there's obvious carryover. I mean, we have a lot of Cleveland personnel. And Van Pelt, I think that's not an accident. But it's Brissett, it's Hooper, it's
not Myles Garrett.
Taki. I mean, they're there's a handful of guys that they brought from Cleveland. Elliott Wolf spent time there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities to we're running the Cleveland offense. I don't know if he's talking about the rest of the team. Like, I don't know if he's looking for like a worst to first kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't
know if I see
think
that.
Or maybe just a competitive team. I don't know.
Yeah.
That does it with the run and defense.
I mean, I'd like to believe
And
it.
that's
but
what Cleveland did.
There's
right?
some big
'Cause
pieces in Cleveland
it's
that
not
are
like
not
Watson
here.
was lighting it up.
Cleveland was better than people think in terms of their roster.
Yeah. Well.
Cleveland's got an unbelievable roster of talent, and they got hit with a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
And just kept winning, But they also caught it right. Like this kind of bugs me.
Steelers had a down year.
Like and they made the playoffs,
Right.
but they really weren't very good.
Yeah.
Because Cincinnati lost their quarterback and wasn't anywhere near as good as they normally are.
Yeah.
People talk about the West, right? The Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. They all kind of stunk, but they all won like 7 or 8 games each.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, yeah, but they weren't very good, and the reason why they won so many games is because they played each other twice. So, yeah, you can rack up some wins. Like, I don't think that the Patriots will have that advantage having to play the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins twice each.
Yeah.
I think we would all probably sign up for a 2-4 record in the AFC East.
Sure. As long as both wins are against the Jets, I'm good with that.
But in all seriousness, how many games realistically do you expect to win out of those 6 if all 3 of them are healthy?
Right. No, it's fair enough.
Whereas the Broncos easily could beat the Raiders or the Chargers.
So
they don't have to pull an upset to do
Yeah.
that, just like the Chargers didn't have to pull an upset to beat the Raiders or the Broncos.
It's interesting, though, that those teams in the West kind of stunk based on the teams they wanted to have going in the season, whereas Cincinnati and Cleveland both played well despite injuries, and we're still competitive and able. I mean, that's what I think you need to strive for as a team with, focusing on Cincinnati this week, their ability to, you lose your quarterback and you're still in there fighting and able to, be competitive. I think that's that shows, I think, what direction that franchise has moved in.
Dorian writes in from Maryland, is it crazy of me to believe that if there is any week for the Patriots to achieve an upset, it would be this one? The Bengals historically start slow. Chase is a big question mark. Week 1 is always choppy for teams as they try to build chemistry amongst the team. And the best part yet is that teams who aren't good don't know they're not good yet, so they don't play like it. Vegas had the Patriots at 9.5, so even if we don't get the upset, I think we surely could cover that spread.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because once the season gets rolling, other teams are going to have injuries. You're going to have teams that instead of missing Jamar Chase, they're missing their quarterback. And, but I don't know. I used to subscribe more to this theory of week 1 being kind of a crapshoot and not really that indicative of what you're ultimately going to be. And a lot of it, was that 2006 game you mentioned. I don't think we might have been off the air, the opener, where it's crappy Buffalo team. Even week 1 in 2009, kind of a crappy Buffalo team. And it's tight right down to the wire, but I don't know. The more and more I watch all the games, it feels like all the roots are all kind of there, I think, with these games. And they might be a little bit more sloppy, but generally I haven't really felt that being the case.
Yeah,
lately.
and I just, we were talking, Mike, before you came down, I think people get so wrapped up in some of the numbers. The Bengals are 1-3 under Burrow in openers. Okay. What does that have to do with this year?
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots haven't covered an opener since Brady. What does that have to do with this year? I might be since 20. I think they covered in the Cam Newton.
Steelers.
The Cam Newton
I hope they covered against the Steelers. They pounded them, didn't they?
When did they play the Steelers?
Wasn't the Steelers the opener in 19?
No, I'm talking about since 2020.
Since post Brady.
With Newton, but they haven't covered the last couple.
Yeah, they got.
This is by the way, this is dangerous. This is when, and I love him and I mean it. I'm taking Joe Murray's word for it. Joe Murray at night on the Sports Hub, one of my favorite guys. But sometimes he's a little loose with his numbers and figures, so maybe that's not right. But my point being, this is a whole new year. It's all different personnel for the Patriots. It's an entire new coaching staff almost. What does that have to do with last year that they didn't cover against Philadelphia? There was nothing really to carry over. The Patriots could easily cover Sunday. I could see them easily getting blown out too. Who knows?
I just hope they're not sloppy and just don't even give themselves a chance with stupid stuff like the penalties and the turnovers. And if you just play a clean game, and you could maybe get a sense of where this team is at. But
how would you feel if they played a clean game? Let's say they have 2 or 3 penalties, no turnovers, and they lose by 17 points.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
I'd almost, if they're gonna lose,
you want an excuse.
Last year.
Refs.
Last year, that Philadelphia game.
Yeah.
They had 3 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I think, was it 2? Did they return? Or 1? I mean, no, there was 1 pick six at least. I thought, was there a fumble that? No, maybe set up a short field. So at least you said, well, geez, if we just didn't shoot ourselves in the foot, we might have been able to win this game.
Yeah. And Booty gets his foot in.
That was the big one.
I would rather if you're going to lose, I'd rather have that. Where you feel like we
100%.
cost ourselves the game as opposed to
we just went out there.
We played as well as we can, and the other team was 3 touchdowns better. That would be
without Jamar Chase.
That would be depressing.
Barton Poland writes in, I have the Bengals as my Super Bowl pick, so I don't have big expectations for Sunday. However, it's probably the best time to face them. When it comes to May, I just hope May becomes the starter before the London game. That's all I ask for, as it will be my first NFL game, and I'll attend live.
Oh, nice.
Also, a question is
I would give you a pretty good odds on that before the London game.
Yeah. Okay.
Drake in England. Yeah.
Also, a question, is there a full and official list of all of Paul's shows? I'm pretty sure that I'm aware of most of them, but it would be great if you could clarify which shows exactly are considered Paul's shows, especially for people outside the area. I think
I'll be on one of my shows momentarily.
Paul's shows are any show that'll give him a paycheck.
Hey.
Right?
No, but you assign a lot of shows to me.
Right.
That I have nothing to do with, like on the other channel.
That's not true. both morning shows, both afternoon shows.
Oh.
And
But how do I get
NBC
paid?
Sports
How do I get
Boston.
paid by any of those?
You've been on all those shows.
I've not been on EEI since 09.
Really?
Yeah. That's when I
Are
started.
you
Felger and
boycotting
Maz.
them, or are they boycotting you?
No, I'm on the other channel.
I know, but you don't have any exclusivity thing.
I don't bite the hand that feeds
You have
me.
a loyalty thing.
No,
if
they pay me.
Well, if Andy Hart says we'd like you to appear and
It's a
we'd pay you,
different argument.
Yeah.
Why?
Now I'm open for business.
Right.
It's going to cost, what yesterday's price is not today's price.
Oh, all right. I like it. I like it.
It's going to cost you a little more. Matt, tell him how you negotiate.
Yeah.
Matt knows. Matt understands.
He's looking for his button.
No, but seriously, like
I'm ruining the joke looking for the button.
I would say Felger and Maz
Yeah,
would
that's
qualify
it,
as my
it
show.
blossoms out of there. Like,
Yeah.
what's that show with Trenny? That one too.
I haven't done that really
now
at all.
Late night though.
Yeah, they always ask me to do late.
I always see
Paul's
like
tired now.
I know. I just see people like getting ready to go on, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, no way.
I'm too
That's
tired.
Like, ugh. I ain't got time. For
they're all your shows.
Oh, just
All Access
generally.
is that my
Yeah,
show?
That's one of
my
your
show.
shows. No, all these talk shows are your shows.
Yeah, the EEI ones are not my shows.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give you the morning
think
show
so.
on EEI. I don't think that's his show. That's not your show.
The morning on EEI?
That's
No,
not your
it's
show.
not my show.
No.
And the morning on the Hub's not my show either.
It's sad. Talked to Hardy yesterday.
I have filled in a little bit. I heard the segment.
How did it go over?
They got them all, but they all seemed to legitimately be guessing. So Hardy came up with a game, Fred, on one of my shows on the Sports Hub, and he called Mike to solicit some advice. So the game was Patriot or Patriot. So was the name that he's going to say, is that actually a member of the New England Patriots, or was he one of the Patriot, in quotes, a member of the January 6th insurrectionists? And he came up with names that were like eerily similar. It was like Mitchell Wilcox or Mitchell something else.
I think I have him right here.
And there was a three-named guy like Joe Giles Harris or someone else that was, but they got all of them right. Wallach and Fred got them all right.
I thought we might get him with some of the new guys on, the new practice squad guys, but no, it's tough.
Well, and then, Hardy was saying, like, Wilcox is from Florida and the other guy's from Florida, too. And they were like, oh, that's tough then. Because normally from, like, one of the insurrectionists was from West Virginia. And they immediately like, I'm going with the West Virginia guy.
Oh, here it is. Here it is if you want some of the names. Mitchell Wilcox or Mitchell Todd Garner.
No, that wasn't the one that they
Joe
said.
Giles Harris or Joe Randall Biggs.
Yeah, that one they did.
Zachary Thomas or Zachary Rell.
Yeah.
Rell. Eric Johnson or Eric Barber.
Yeah,
You
they
get the
did.
point.
They did those. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Rob in San Diego via Connecticut went to training camp this year and had a very good time. Thought it was very fan-friendly.
Training camp is a great time for
He
fans.
also says there's been a lot of talk about quarterback and when May should start. What happens if Brissett plays just fine, not poor, but not great? We lose games close, but he's doing well enough. Will there be any locker room disturbance or issues from veterans if May is put in under those circumstances? I ask because most of these conversations are framed in the offense being stuck in the mud and Brissett playing poorly.
I mean, it kind of feels to me a little bit like Bledsoe and Brady, where Bledsoe was a good quarterback, but I feel like the team maybe was won over by Brady and they could see that that's how they want to play and that the ceiling would be higher under Brady. But I mean, I think
that's winning.
If Jacoby's winning games, though.
But he said no. He said they're losing.
Well, then no.
He said he's playing well, but they're losing close games. I don't think that anybody will have any problem with changing to Drake May at any point this season. I really don't. I think that those guys are smart enough to understand, unless that one caveat of Brissett's lighting it up and they're really playing well, like they're 6-2.
And then you
then
keep
I
them
think you
in.
got some veterans that are like, well, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're playing well. We got a chance.
We want to win. Yeah.
Otherwise, let's say his scenario, Brissett's playing well, but they're 3-5.
Yeah.
No one's going to argue that.
Well, especially too because I think the element that you believe that Drake May can offer that we've seen is just a new explosive element. Where if you're not winning games, then even if he's playing well, he's not going to be playing so well that he's hitting Tyquan Thornton on a 60-yard bomb or doing the things that Drake May is able to do. So I think that would buffer the decision a little bit. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
why you're
we've
doing
talked about it before. The comp there is down in Miami when Tua was a rookie and Ryan Fitzpatrick was doing okay.
Yeah.
And he's a good locker room guy. You know,
Yeah.
he grew the beard so he could be relatable because he's from Harvard.
But they weren't winning. So, you know, like
But
that
weren't
would
they
be
like
similar.
3-3 or
They
something?
were like 500. They weren't
500,
winning.
yeah.
So there was nothing to be lost by making the change.
Right. Yeah.
They actually won more after they made the change,
Yeah.
even though Tua wasn't
Yeah.
really responsible for them winning.
Nate writes in, don't know if you guys mentioned this, but shout out to the team for paying Barmore his salary this year. Classy move.
Yeah, it's
When-
pretty much routine.
was there an option
Just,
there?
yeah, there is an option, but teams like Cincinnati might take the option. The other 31 teams would have paid him. And by the way, it was like $1 million. I think it was 1.8 million.
Yeah.
So like we're not really even. I know that sounds like a lot to me and you.
Yeah.
Especially me, not as much you, Fred. But I don't really see. I don't really see an option there. Like you can alienate one of your best young players.
Right.
And not pay him over 1.8 million, or you can do what everybody else does.
Right. All right. Evan's here.
Evan has returned from practice. Evan has returned from practice. Yeah, Evan has returned from practice. What was the mood? Who wasn't there? What did he see?
All right, Evan. This is
First
the
time.
first one of the
Wow.
season. A lot of pressure.
Feels
We
good.
need a full practice report.
That feels like when people sing you happy birthday. You're not really sure what to do. You just kind of sit here
Yeah,
and they're like,
right.
It's kind of like Sunshine Day in like an hour and a half.
no, it feels good to be back. But the big practice report here today, Vidarian Lowe back at practice
Sure
for
we
the
got Lowe.
Patriots on Wednesday. Still sounds, the scuttlebutt in the locker room was that he's getting better, but maybe not quite there yet for Sunday. So we'll see. Still no City So. He was absent. The lone player officially absent from the 53-man roster. Jotham Russell, not there from the practice squad if you care. But no City So. Vidarian Lowe there, present, participating at some capacity. So that's the news.
All right.
Pads?
No pads. Shells.
Shells today.
Shells.
No pads.
Pads.
A little surprised by
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It was. I believe they were in pads on Monday.
Oh, okay. I'm not as surprised by it.
And now, so today was still shell practice. It's pretty similar, just no full equipment. So
Yeah. Playing music throughout?
there was not music during stretch. Now that I
Really?
think about it,
That's kind of weird.
How do you stretch it out?
Yeah,
No
it
music.
wasn't. I don't think so.
Can't get my
no,
groove on.
No music, which was a little bit odd,
Okay.
but
So did that affect the mood?
maybe a little bit, Fred.
Yeah.
The mood I think has been relatively good. Now,
Now, wait a
We'll see
minute.
what
Now,
it
Deuce, you both were in the locker room.
yeah,
Deuce said the mood in the locker room was businesslike.
that's a fair way of putting it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I feel like the mood is a little bit looser than
Yeah.
maybe you'd normally see. I think right now there's still hope. Season hasn't started yet. Just remembering the last couple of locker rooms last year, it was obviously pretty doom and gloom in there after the season that they had. But right now it's a fresh season. It's a new thing for everybody. So I felt like the locker room on Monday and today was, I don't want to call it lively, but it was a little bit loose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I did talk to. Jawan Bentley is always usually pretty businesslike anyway. So
Yeah.
But he seemed especially just like excited to go. you know.
Yeah, he's always a little bit like that. But it was another practice where we had one period of access, then they kick us out, and then we get 3 more periods after that of individuals, and just to watch them go through.
I think there's a kickoff. I mean,
drills
are we
through
brewing
there.
something on the kickoff? Is that? sorry, dynamic kickoff. Sorry, Paul.
It's possible.
Are we brewing
Correct.
something on the dynamic kickoff?
But that time of practice is still walk through tempo. It's
Yeah.
not like that's like a live period. But
Do you hear balls being kicked off.
But maybe it's just who's doing what, in terms of who's lining up where, who's returning kicks,
Yeah.
Not that I really feel like that has changed much since the preseason or since camp, but that might be a possibility. Jalen Rager's technically not on the 53-man roster, so maybe there's some other guys that are trying to practice that to see if they can do it.
So, is it on the kickoffs? Is it like a regular play from scrimmage where the defense has a chance to adjust make the last substitutions?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
And on this, so is the kicking team the defense on this play, or is it the receiver?
Yes.
So in other words,
Yeah.
you get out there, and one side sees, okay, this is the type of personnel they have. Would you see a team making a wholesale change to adjust to that and like counteract the personnel that they have on the dynamic kickoff? And who's the last team to be able to substitute on that play?
That's a good question.
I mean, I don't know if right out of the
I
gate
can't believe
that would
you
happen.
haven't already figured this out.
Well, it's
No.
kind of hard to have a whole second kickoff team that, you know.
I like the outside the box
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
I don't
sort
think
of-
it'll happen, but I like the thought.
Yeah, I'm kind of like stumped on it because I'm sort of with Deuce, I guess. It just, to me, it feels like you have these guys practicing this all week.
But
it's unlikely
you
that
might
you're
have
going
two. We have our small unit and we have our big unit. You know,
It's possible.
Right.
You know?
Possible.
Good for you.
what about
Deuce
your
is
big
talking
unit?
about units.
I think that was you.
It's a good thought.
He said it and then tried to
got a-
pin it on me. I
It's
don't
got a big unit.
Yeah.
That's a good question for Jeremy Springer.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Next time we talk to him.
Effort that.
Evan has an email, and this is from.
Oh, geez. You've been
Doesn't
saving
say
this
who.
one?
Joe. He says we were talking about the value of wide receivers and how Bill had a certain value for certain types of wide receivers. Joe says the Super Bowl teams doesn't value wide receivers the way you think they should be either. Historically, teams who value receivers the way you do are very nice little regular season teams. Hill and Cup have won recently, and then the Chiefs went and won 2 without him.
Okay.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
So the San Francisco with Ayuk and Debo, and
No, they don't count because they didn't win. You
Philly
don't get
with
it?
AJ Brown and Devontae
They
Smith.
also don't count because they didn't win according to this email.
Got it.
Like you just they're nice little regular season teams.
Yeah.
Like, can we just sort of accept the fact that Patrick Mahomes is a little special,
Right.
and he can win it when he's loaded at the skill positions, and he can win it when he has nothing at the skill positions.
Right.
It's a little bit of an outlier.
Yeah.
That not all teams can rely on.
Right.
Because Evan accurately points out that all of the other teams that played against them in the Super Bowl had exactly what Evan's talking about.
Right.
Like the dynamic lead receiver.
Yeah.
or 2.
Like, I just, when has it ever been a good idea to not have the best players you can have? Because somehow, no offense, Mike, Brady's brilliance conned people into thinking you didn't need great players without realizing that you had the single greatest player who's ever played.
Yeah. It's easy to have a strong middle class and all that stuff when your best player is the greatest of all time.
Like, and that's what Mahomes is doing for the Chiefs right now.
That's right.
And by the way, I would argue Travis Kelce is every bit the number one receiver that A.J. Brown will ever be.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's a little bit past his prime now. What's he, like 34, 35?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe he's not quite the same. He was Gronk in terms of being a receiver at the time.
Yep.
He was never Gronk in terms of an overall tight end, but that's your lead receiver.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he definitely flipped the switch in the playoffs last year. He had some huge games
Yeah.
for them in the playoffs. Paul said it great. Like, Travis Kelce doesn't count because he plays tight end. Like
It's like Gronk didn't count.
Yeah, Gronk didn't count. Edelman didn't count because he played in the slot instead of playing on the outside. You can million ways to stir the drink as long as it gets stirred.
And then
so.
the truth is that this regime has signaled that they think that way. They
Well,
want to
and
go
I
get
would
that
also
receiver.
never say, like, well, you have to have a number one receiver. Like, no. Like, if you're really good and you just have a bunch of good receivers, but you're excellent in other, yeah, you can win. But I just think most of these offenses now, I know that the nice regular season teams that have good offenses, they have that.
Yeah.
It's really just Miami to like the email or what other nice regular season
Well,
team
like
is
Dallas. I think Dallas is a nice regular season team that has the
Yeah, I
shiny,
like this.
CD lamp.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice regular season teams.
But like,
I like it.
but like, I don't see the difference between me. I think that the emailer was
DK
saying it as
Metcalf.
sort of like a negative.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being Miami and Dallas, like working to try to get over the hump.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
But talent's not the issue.
But-
They're trying to get over the hump.
Didn't the Chiefs win also with the number one receiver?
Yeah, well, he said that.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the last two without Hill,
But
completely ignoring Kelsey.
right.
Anyways.
But I don't know.
I just would say after watching this offense for the last couple of years, it's just throw out 1, 2, 3, X, Y, Z. Like you need explosive players. You need players that can move the needle. And with this
Difference
Patriots
makers.
team has been stuck in
You-
the
you
mud.
You need difference makers
for
on
too long.
offense.
You do realize if the Patriots had finished the deal in 07, they wouldn't be arguing this anymore because you'd be the perfect team with the number one wide
No.
receiver.
If people realized the talent level that the Patriots had, they wouldn't be saying this.
Yeah.
It's exactly what Evan and Mike said. Like, Gronk doesn't count.
Right.
Gronk might be the greatest tight end in the history of football.
Yep.
That doesn't count as like the
The
lead
number
dog,
one.
Right.
the lead
A
receiver.
superstar receiver.
You know, in 18, Edelman was immense in the playoffs. That doesn't count as a number one receiver?
Yeah. Well,
Of course it does.
Yeah.
I think too, it's what made those Patriots teams so fun because it wasn't like anything you really could put like the easy. All right, we got Moss on the outside, we got a slot. It was this tight end who could block Haloti Ngata and then run down the seam and have a 25, 30-yard catch. You know, that was what made it so unique and exciting. Like in 11-12 when that thing really hit a gear. You know.
I'll tell you an unpopular opinion. The 09 team didn't fail because all you had to do was double team Moss over the top and slam down on Welker. They couldn't stop anybody.
Yeah.
That's why they failed.
Pass rush. I mean,
Like that game
Derek
in New Orleans
Burgess.
that elicited that. I
Yeah.
just can't get these guys to play.
Oh, they
how
got
many points?
smoked.
How
Oh,
many
yeah.
points did New
No, they
Orleans
had
score
no
that night?
answers.
That's why you
Yeah.
didn't go where you wanted to go. That
You got
game.
rid of Richard Seymour. You put Jarvis Green in there trying to stop the run, and Ray Rice. He's still running.
My
Like that-
favorite deuceism is just naming random like 2010 pass rushers on the Patriots. Derek Burgess, Andre Carter,
He's
Tully
uncanny.
Tully
Banta-King.
Banta-King.
He's uncanny.
It's
It's
just
uncanny.
Derek Burgess.
I have a
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I have a
Mike
thing.
Anderson.
Like I was thinking,
I was very mad about
We
it.
were
I was
talking
very
about
mad
like
about it.
safeties yet on yesterday's show, and you guys were going back and forth with safeties, and I immediately was thinking, oh yeah, it was like McCourty, Harmon, Chung, and then
Yeah.
I was thinking, I have no idea if Chung was on that team that we were talking about, so
Yeah.
I didn't mention Chung
Yeah, yeah.
because I know Deuce would have been like, well, he was gone.
Well,
No,
no,
that was
just 1 year.
2012.
Yeah,
yeah,
Derek-
We're still.
But don't you
playing
remember
cover
the
two.
Derek Burgess year?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
There you go.
He
We
was
all
one of
remember.
the gang of four that was late.
Yeah.
With the Dallas Thomas, he had to show up like the Jetsons.
the Jetson
And
game.
Adelius Thomas was on that team. Didn't he get like hurt though? Was he? I don't think he was playing by
He
the
fell
end.
out of favor by
Yeah.
that
he,
time.
He sure
Yeah.
did.
Chris,
Chris,
a Dallas Thomas.
I hate you.
Chris in Colfax, California. Not sure if his play style fits, but could we see Del Pettis have a decent role on defense due to the lack of a true free safety? It seems like all of our safeties are strong safeties or sub-linebacker types. And how much play time are you expecting from Polk and Bell at the beginning of the season?
I don't expect Del Pettis. I mean, I think he very well could be a game day inactive.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawkins, they got 3 of those guys. As for Bell, I don't think Bell's going to play a lot. I think Polk will play a lot. I think Polk, you got top 4 receivers. I think he'll be in that mix, and
Yep.
you know they'll rotate him in and out. Just curious if they activate Rager though. If that's do they roll
Yeah.
with Booty? Because that Rager move was still surprising to me. I always had Rager above Booty.
Yeah, and
We'll
that would
see.
tell you a lot.
Yeah.
If they activate him and deactivate a receiver, that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
It tells you that I was right.
Yeah,
Like
but Bell,
they
I think
felt like they could cut Rager and not lose him.
Yeah.
They weren't sure about Booty.
That's sort of how I felt about it at the time, was that Booty would have to go through waivers, and
Mhm.
he's had a couple good preseasons. Maybe somebody,
Yeah.
is still
elevate Rager 2 weeks and then
Yeah.
see where we're at. Maybe we just
Yeah,
promote
but
him
the
back
safety
to
he's
the
looking
start.
for is Jalen Hawkins. Like Jalen Hawkins is going to be the Duron Harmon of this all. If everything works out. Del Pettis to me is a little bit more slot, like kind of in the box type of guy.
I do kind of agree with his line of thought. Not with Del Pettis. I don't think he's ready for a role on defense. But I found it interesting because I think the 3 of us all thought the same of Jalen Hawkins. Like, oh, maybe this is a guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really like playing like that. I don't
Yeah.
know. I know you talked to him for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike, during camp, he fancies himself like another Duggar and Peppers. He
Yep.
wants to lay the lumber, and he wants to be in the. He talks about his versatility. That's all those guys do. But I think he's more comfortable playing like Duggar and Peppers
I
than he
kinda
would
do
be playing
too.
like Devin McCourty.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they'll use him, but yeah, the day I talked to him too, he had came off the edge and had a tackle for loss, and he was in the backfield a lot. So I don't know. I'm thinking that probably what they're going to do is they're going to use 3, and it's going to.
And it could be one of those things. Well, duly noted. We know what you want to do. This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. But it's you could have
That's
Duggar
up
and
to
him in the
Pellegrino
box,
and,
then
and Brian Belichick.
at the snap they're out. It's I think they'll play with those guys a lot. I am curious though how much Hawkins plays on defense. If this is still a pure 3 safety defense, that's kind of where we want to live, or is it going to be more traditional with the two guys and more
Yeah.
slot.
What do you
corner
guys
kind of a
think?
guy.
I think it's still going to be 3 safety heavy
Yeah.
because I just think it gives you so much flexibility
I think so, too.
of where Duggar and Peppers can be. Like those two guys need to be as close to the ball as possible because
Big nickel.
What do you
So-
do if you're in nickel? Like, if let's say there's only 5.
I mean, I'd probably
Depends on the
say it
team,
depends on the
right?
offense, and you
Yeah.
know, are we looking at a small, quick slot receiver, or are we looking at, you know, like if you have Yoshivas this week, and, you know, bigger guy, like I don't know. I would say it's more matchup based, but it gets
I hate
into
when
that
you guys
nickel dime
answer with
stuff.
logic.
Sorry,
That makes perfect
Sorry.
sense.
Yeah.
I just don't know how
No,
much.
that made perfect sense.
I just don't know what they truly feel about Hawkins. If they really believe he's a guy that can play defense, or if they're kind of like he's going to be a special teamer for us and he can fill in, but he's not going to be part of the plan. And that's what I said
do
yesterday.
think you'll see more of Hawkins than Marcus Jones if there's only 5.
Yeah,
but
right.
you guys nailed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like if you depends.
like this week it's
matchup dependent.
It's they're an 11 personnel team, Cincinnati, 3 wide receivers, Burrow in the gun. Like
Probably
that's how they
Marcus.
play offense.
Yeah.
So now it's probably going to be a little bit more traditional 3-corner nickel. But when you play Miami and they might be a little heavier and try to run the ball, like that's always a tough thing to me with teams like Miami is that they like to put the corners in the run game. They run outside zone. They try to get outside the tackles and make you fit the ball with the corners.
Yeah.
And
think
that
about that Mostert touchdown run.
Yeah.
late in week 2 last year.
Yeah, like maybe that's like a little bit more.
I get nothing for that, Freddie.
I'm just numb to it.
It was one of those plays where it's exactly the way Evan just described. You get cornerbacks in bad situations, and I think that was one of the rare plays that Christian Gonzalez looked like a rookie last year on that long touchdown run by Mostert.
So we already weighed in our key player on each side of the ball for the Patriots.
Like for the entire season?
No,
for this
Sunday.
game.
Okay.
Just for this game.
For both sides
Yeah.
of the ball. Offensively, I'll go Chooks Okorafor. I just think
Henderson.
It's a good pick.
Trey Hendrickson is one of the best in the league, in my opinion. Really underrated player. Had 17.5 sacks last year. I don't feel like that gets talked about enough. And he usually likes to line up over the left tackle. And if you're going to have any sort of passing game success, that's where it starts in terms of the blocking, is blocking Hendrickson. Defensively, I think it's got to be Gonzalez. Like, you know, you got to have...
That was Fred's pick.
You got to be able to take one of the receivers out relatively. Like, we're not going to shut out Jamar Chase, but you got to take one of those guys out without having to tilt the coverage in their direction. If you had to tilt the coverage in everybody's direction, now you're in trouble. So he's going to have to be Stephon Gilmore light. Like, they're going to have to be able to say, you have T. Higgins this week, and if he goes for $120, then fine, but like, let's make it for 8 catches, right? Like, just don't give up 3 big plays or something like that. But you're going to be on an island against this guy, and it's up to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
So what do you think if Chase doesn't play? I'm just like scrolling through Twitter to see if there's anything out of Cincinnati. I don't really see anything. But if Chase doesn't play, does that afford you the luxury of just sort of ridiculously taking Higgins out of the game with multiple people and then making those other guys beat you? The Yeshivases of the world.
Charlie
Trent
Jones,
Irwin.
the Purdue kid, that was Charlie
Jones. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah,
He's in
from
there
Purdue.
too.
Yep.
You know?
Gesicki.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gesicki.
A tight end.
Drew Sample.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
it's a good question. I feel like they should put Gonzo on T. Higgins regardless. And then if Chase does play, then you bracket him, tilt the coverage his way.
That's what
whatever.
I think. If you drafted this guy in the first round, let's not forget.
Yeah.
So he should match up on T. Higgins, and now, like you said, Evan, it frees up the defense.
What, if Chase plays, you think he...
No, even if Chase doesn't play, put him on T. Higgins.
Oh, if he doesn't play, absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one else. Why would I waste him on Yeshivas?
Yeah, no, I'm boxing wanting T. Higgins. Like,
yeah.
Gonzo, you have T. Higgins. The other 10 guys, we're going to worry about Jamar Chase, right? If Jamar Chase doesn't play, I don't think it changes much. It's just now it's a little bit easier for the other 10 guys without Chase in there. But that's the way I hope that they kind of approach the entire season with some of these offenses that have multiple receivers like that. I'm not sure if Gonzo's quite ready to be on an island against Jamar Chase, but he probably is ready to be on an island against T. Higgins. So, you know, if you have like the Eagles, you know, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, like maybe, you know, he covers Devontae Smith and then the attention goes to A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing.
Yep. And I said, I think you agreed, I don't know, Ramondre Stevenson on offense.
That was mine. You said Gonzalez, and I agree with you.
No, but we said both sides of the ball, and I agree with you on Stevenson.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that. Like,
me too.
I don't
And
love
Gerard
the.
Well, you just don't want to run the ball.
He worried
That's-
me more today.
Well, I don't want to I don't want to be one of these teams. Oh, we got to establish the run. We got to come in here today and we got to run it down their
Isn't that
throats.
what Mayo kind of said
Iron
today?
sharpens iron.
And has been saying throughout camp?
That worries me.
Yeah, I know, but like if he's true to what he says, all the way up to today, Ramondre Stevenson better have a good game.
But why can't Ramondre Stevenson have a good game in the third and fourth quarter? Like when you're playing with a lead.
That means you have to have a
and
lead.
Yeah, but why?
But I would say that
you're better off having a lead if you throw it early, especially on first down. Like if you go 1st and 10, 3-yard run, 2nd and 7, 3-yard run. Now we're in third down. Now we got to make a play. Up, we're punting.
Okay, so what's in all fairness,
Well, he picked Chooks.
what's the better strategy for trying to win this game? Throwing the ball and trying to get a lead, or
I think that's always the better
shortening the game
throw to
and
score,
try to
run to
stay
win.
close
The
with
first
the
thing.
run game.
The first thing to me, and I agree
But are
with
we
Mike.
equipped to do the first thing?
Well, if you're not equipped to, you're not
That's the
equipped to
league.
win games. That's the league.
Well,
They're not equipped to run the ball and shorten the game and win that way.
Okay. Well,
Like
that's
teams aren't equipped to do that. I know those are the age-old cliches. Let's shorten the game.
I
but
know.
That's not a way to try to win on a consistent basis.
I didn't say that on a consistent basis.
So I would
but-
say, in my view, it's just my opinion. I
Yeah.
think Mike and Evan agree with me. Is throwing the ball on early downs to try to get the lead. I think it's always the goal, as Bill used to say. Well, hard to believe, Mike,
I know,
but we
the-
always
the-
try to
the
get
converse,
the lead. The best way to get a lead is by throwing the ball and scoring.
No doubt, but the downside of doing that is if you're 3 and out the first 3 series, now you're down 10-0 before you know it.
Right. So why are you eliminating 3 and out the first 3 series by running the ball?
Well, the hope is that you don't go 3 and out.
Just like the hope is that I'm completing the pass
I know,
on first
but
down.
knowing this team, what's a better strategy?
You guys did it. We would just kumbaya before you guys.
No,
came in
but
here.
knowing
now I'm in.
Knowing what we've got in this team, what's the best strategy?
I'm gonna say the same thing. I don't think they ran it from here to there all
right,
summer,
okay.
except for against the Washington Commanders.
All right.
Just throw it to the tight ends early. I mean, I look at it even from the
I wish it
Patriots
was that easy.
defensive standpoint. Like
It's not that easy. Listen. Offense is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're speaking out of school here.
I would just if I was them, and Fred, you said this a couple weeks ago, I believe, with the 6 offensive linemen. They did that a ton. The Browns did when Jacoby Brissett started against the Bengals in 2022. They played 6 linemen 22 times in that game on offense. They put 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. They left the back end to pass protect off play action, and the Bengals answered it all with single high. Right? They put the single high safety. Nick Chubb's not going to beat us. You guys can't throw it past us. And what did Jacoby Brissett do? He tore him up in single coverage down the field off play action. I would much rather them come out aggressively like that on first down. Put him under center, put him in a run formation, play action pass.
Hunter Henry down the slot,
and let's
down the seam.
try to hit some plays down the field and get the offense moving. And then once you do that, now the defense has to counter, and now you can run the ball. Like if you're trying to run the ball into 7-8 man boxes all the time because that they know that you're trying to establish the run and be the tougher, win the line of scrimmage and all this crap. Like then we're going to score 14 points. Like good job.
Establish the run.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
It's
like
establish the run, stop the run.
What does that even freaking mean?
It's exactly what I would tell Cincinnati to do too. To
We're
take
tough.
advantage
We're tough on both
the
sides of the line.
Godshaws
We don't
of
care
the
if they
world,
know
the
we're gonna run it.
Bentleys.
We're
You
gonna
know,
run
take
it.
advantage of the heavy New England defensive personnel and throw right at them when they're going to be, probably more likely to be two gapping in those early downs. And there's not going to be penetration. He's going to have some time. Like I think it's a favorable strategy.
So Jamar Chase is at practice today in uniform.
Oh,
so
great.
Oh, great.
There goes my upset.
Thanks
pick.
for nothing.
Yeah. So he's
He's still not going to be ready to play, and he's going to pull a hamstring
Has he
in the
been
middle
running?
of the first
Has he been
quarter.
conditioning?
I don't know.
I
assume he is, but
I gotta get my
like
Joe
first,
Burrow
like, go
voodoo
route.
doll.
I do think today was the day. Like I was talking to Fred, like
Hard
Wednesday.
deadline.
Yeah.
All
Don't you
right,
think?
game week. I'm ready.
But Wednesday is a day that you sort of, if you haven't done anything all summer, you sort of need to be involved in the game plan.
Yeah, right.
And if you're not, I would have said that he wouldn't play. But now I would say he's probably tracking to play.
It's gonna stink if he just plays and has a great game and no training camp, just waltzes in
Wow.
Wednesday before.
You talk about something that the other 31 coaches are rooting
I know,
against.
right? Totally.
You know what I mean? Like
right?
him having a great season after skipping all of training camp.
Right.
That's not what the other 31 coaches want to see.
Carter in Santa Clarita, California. You know Santa
Oh yeah,
Clarita?
beautiful.
Do you?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you know Carter?
Not personally, but
No?
I've heard about him.
New listener to the show, but a longtime Patriots fan going back to the Tony Eason years.
Ooh.
And now that I've discovered your show, I'll be tuning in regularly.
Nice.
Thank you. My question is about Cole Strange. I know he's starting the year on the PUP list, but I've heard disparagingly / snide comments out of the corner of your mouths in passing the few times his name has been brought up in recent weeks. Can you fill me in on the status of the recovery and what you think his future is in New England? I don't know if we've been
I haven't had
snide.
any
We can talk about, like,
he struggled in his first 2 years.
Yeah,
I'll admit to being the
no, but I
snarky
think
one.
we talked about, like, is there any hope that maybe he could play center? If he
Someone,
comes-
not this
someone
year,
called
but-
in.
Yeah.
and,
I mean,
maybe
When
as
you
a
draft a
backup,
guy in the
but-
first round and you're like, well, maybe he could play a different position, that's usually
That's
not
okay
a
to
good
me.
not a good
as long as he's
thing.
good at it.
He hasn't
Devin
shown us
McCourty
much,
went
but-
from corner to safety. It didn't hurt
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
or
I
the
guess.
team.
I mean, that's
him
one
back into
example.
the mix. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do anything, but when you're looking at a practice squad guy, maybe starting at left guard, I'll put Cole Strange into that mix and see if he can improve things. You know, I don't. But
It's a little like
hard to hope for
Taekwon,
anything
right?
with
Like
him.
your only hope with Cole Strange is that the scheme change actually could, out of anybody, probably benefit him the most. Where now they're
Athletic.
running a lot of this outside zone stuff that maybe he's just wasn't a fit in what they. Now it doesn't help him in pass protection, being on skates all the time. Like that's got to work on that separately, but. Maybe the scheme itself, it's just a good.
I mean,
fit for
Cole
him.
Strange had some good games.
Yeah,
He wasn't
he wasn't always
Yeah,
terrible, but
no.
he struggled for the most part
He
in his 2
struggled.
seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't tell
I would
people
say to Carter, you know, I do think he had his knee injury is not run of the mill. It was a torn patellar tendon, which is significant. He does not look like he's moving great to me even now. I don't know how you guys have felt watching him
haven't really
walk
clocked
around the
it.
locker room. Some of that might be that just that normal athlete football, like sometimes
Dietrich Wise looks injured always.
we used to say it about Teddy Bruschi. Always looked like everything hurt all the time when he walked, and he never missed games. Almost never missed games. So I don't know if how close he is to being healthy. It's at least 4 games on PUP, so scratch off September, and then how much time would he need to sort of get up to game speed in October if he were to be, you know, activated on the practice field before he could be a legitimate option to start.
Yep.
I just wonder when he comes back, and I know we're doing a lot on Cole Strange, but if Layden Robinson is decent for a rookie at least, and you already have City in there, and there's a possibility that Onwenu is also a factor in the interior too, there just might not be a spot for him. Like, especially if they're playing decently well. Like, you only would really go to that, I feel like, if it's a mess, which we all think it might be. But if it's not, then you're not really going to shake up the 5 guys that are rolling just to get him back in the lineup.
I mean, I hope City Sal can get rolling. I mean, I think there's still just as big question marks there as there is everywhere else on the line.
Is it so or Sal?
So.
I say so.
But sometimes Mike.
Did I just sound?
Mike reversed
Yeah,
you.
you just sounded.
You think I would get it because I'm a Dussault, not a Dusal, and I got to make that known.
It's not like sexual
It's
assault.
like, no, that's
Chandler
Talking
Jones.
about units.
Chandler. Yeah, big units.
Carter also says the Patriots' first-round pick in 2025 has to be a tackle. I don't care if the Patriots draft first overall next year. It has to be a tackle. Until the offensive line is fixed, nothing else will work.
Okay.
It's a chandelier, though, right? It's not
I don't
a
think it has to be a
chandelier.
tackle.
Correct.
I
don't
think
think
though
it has to be. I think
if they pick a tackle wherever they pick, he has to be a good player.
No, I would probably right now, before the season, probably agree with that. Like, it's probably going to be Evan's guy there, Will Campbell. You know, if they can get
a hog
you know,
molly,
whatever, makes a lot of sense. I don't think you have to take a tackle.
Edge
I don't
may
agree with
make
that.
sense too.
I think you have
There's a lot of things that would make sense. This is the silver lining of not being expected to be a great team is you have a lot of options come draft time, right?
especially if you don't need a quarterback. But
Right.
I think it has to be a tackle. But that's how I feel today.
That's how I feel today.
If Caden Wallace ends up being a dude, then maybe I'd change my mind 6 months from now. But it just seems to me that protecting Drake May and keeping him upright for the next decade is so much more important than anything else that we could talk about.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about some guys on defense in this draft. We're going to talk about Burden and McMillan and the receivers too. But there's 2 really, really blue chip level tackle prospects in Will Campbell and Calvin Banks from Texas that are the two of the better guys that I've seen the last couple of years, like up there with like Alt and those guys. It just seems like such a slam dunk. Like, why would you get?
I mean, based on the draft, as you said, with strong class with a couple of tackles and as well.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect case is like you're 1 or 2,
Trade down.
trade down, you
Yeah.
got 2 first rounder, and you're able to get
Maybe you
hit
get a
both
tackle
those
and a
needs.
wide receiver, or a
100%.
tackle and an edge guy.
The trade down
you know?
is what we're.
I want to
to
live in a football world where we don't have to talk about offensive line anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, remember those days?
I'm proud of you.
Remember those days?
I'm always in that.
You know,
Yeah,
like
I'm always in those days.
My
It'll
second
work out.
favorite Patriot of all time is John Hanna, but
That's kind of.
Did you kiss him, Fred?
but you didn't
I'm
have
gonna
to
let
talk
Tip-
about
I'm gonna
the
let Tip
offensive
know
line.
that.
You know, like it was just you could depend on it. It was going to do its job every week, and you could focus on the receivers and the running backs and the quarterbacks and
I just feel like
middle
you
linebacker.
can find receivers and you can find edge guys in free agency a lot of the time, or at least in the trade market with receivers. I mean, they get Judon as a free agent. Like, those guys come available. Great left tackles do not come available.
This is
Like,
true.
you don't see them move very often from
No.
team to team. You got to get that in the draft. Like, if they get the left tackle in the draft, like, they can go and sign T. Higgins. Like, he's probably going to be available, and they can give him the most money and get him to come here, hopefully. And now that problem is solved too. So I just that's the biggest thing to me is like asset management of like what's going to be available and what's not. And the tackles don't come available. They just don't.
It's such an attitude position too. Like, I think Logan Mankins was kind of an attitude guy. I mean, you look at Trent Williams, just his presence. Like, it's just they just kind of change the whole dynamic when you have those kind of guys. Trent Brown, that one good year he had here, like just presence. Like, it's you walk on the field, like I just haven't felt that way. Like, it just feels like they've been trying to scrape it together any way they can and put this guy here, and oh no, we got to put this guy over here. And
Well, like, so, when I came here, it was Bruce Armstrong. He was the guy.
Yeah.
Then they got Matt Light.
Yep.
Second round pick.
They had
out
a
of-
great run.
Right?
They had a great run at tackle for a while.
Yeah. And then Nate Solder, who he was okay. He had his issues. But then since then, it's been kind of a mishmash.
Isaiah
right?
Wynn.
Isaiah Wynn was supposed to
Yeah,
be the guy
he
that
was supposed
took
to be
the
the guy.
torch, and he didn't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like Nate Solder now. I would love Nate Solder.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
can we get a
right.
Nate Solder now?
Yeah.
Because I understand that on a team of a perfect team like the 2014 and 2016 Patriots, like maybe he's not the best player on the roster, but they would love to have a Nate Solder right about now.
agree.
Yep. Let's see. Jordan in Hawaii. I've seen other people in Boston media, Paul shows, say that the Patriots need another veteran quarterback on the roster. Personally, I don't see any reason for that. What benefit does that give you? You have a starting veteran, and when Drake starts, he'll be there. He'll still be there. Do you think they should sign another backup quarterback? If so, who?
No.
I'm good with their quarterbacks.
Good.
Yeah, no. People that want to sign a veteran are people who don't want May to play as a rookie. They want him to develop and just sit for the whole year and take a redshirt year. I'm not in that category.
Yeah.
But if they didn't want him to play, I would agree with that. You have to get a veteran who can play.
I think the better question is, do you think it will be May and Milton next year, or do they
Strong
would they try
possibility.
to bring back somebody like
Alone?
Brissett to do you bring back an experienced?
Yeah, I know it
veteran
won't
backup?
be Brissett, but I think they'll be in the market for a veteran backup.
Like more Brian Hoyer than Brissett.
Yeah.
But maybe they I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted another quarterback too.
I
Like
think
a
it
day
was
3 guy.
Like a
but-
good move today, probably not an impact thing, but like Houston re-signing or extending Davis Mills.
Yeah.
That to me makes sense. I don't know if Joe Milton will be in a position next year even to be a reliable backup. He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Marissa from Hamilton,
So, man.
Ontario. Love the show. Thanks for all the insight and content. As a longtime Patriots fan, I've been doing my best to find moments of excitement and joy these last few years. So, it brought a huge smile to my face when I found out this morning that Danny Amendola is going to be on this season's Dancing with the Stars. Can't wait to see his moves on the dance floor and whichever of his Patriots buddies show up to support him in the audience.
Gronk,
I saw
Edelman.
him dance a little bit. They had like the premiere show. I don't know. I saw the clip, but this is like his second or third reality show. I saw him on it was like a Navy SEAL training show as well. Danny Amendola making the rounds.
It's so funny, these guys, just life after football and what they're doing,
He's always fashion too. He's got like all these.
It's almost
kind
like
of
gotta
crazy outfits.
stay in the limelight somehow.
Yep. Travis in West Virginia has a question about one of our sponsors.
Question.
He says, should it should Sullivan Tire be called Sullivan Tires? I don't think so. Sullivan doesn't make the tires. They sell tires, so it's Sullivan Tire.
But do they sell more than one?
No,
I hope so.
No, but it's not their tires.
I got a chuckle.
I don't know, but you know what? Since football season's here and Sullivan Tire and Auto Service kicks things off in a big way with our exclusive Go Patriots tire sale. Now through October 31st, score big with incredible savings on Bridgestone tires. Save $100 instantly with the purchase of 4 eligible Bridgestone tires. Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots, and see sullivantire.com for complete details.
It's food for thought.
Yeah,
it's Town Fair Tire. It's Sullivan
whoever's
Tire.
writing that
but
copy,
it's Bridgestone tires.
Yeah,
'cause you
see,
have 4 of
I
them.
would redo that
sometimes
copy if
two,
I
you only
was
need two.
Sullivan Tire. Like, is it a message for Sullivan Tire, or is it a message for Bridgestone Tires?
I think they're trying to
They're the
promote the fact that they have
I know.
Bridgestones.
But it says the
I don't-
official. It says Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots. That's great.
Oh.
Is
Sullivan.
Sullivan Tire the official distributor of tires for the New England Patriots?
No, they're probably the official distributor of tires for Bridgestone.
Are they? Because
They
I know you get all
Dan's a
kinds
car
of
guy, so
yeah.
he would know.
Now I have Bridgestone tires. I have the run flat Bridgestone
Oh,
tires.
very nice.
And which helped
Can't
me
hide
out
money.
once.
Very nice.
No, what do you mean? It's the same as any other tire.
Either way, you're paying
What do you
$400 or
mean they're not?
$500 a pop each tire, right? Like that's
Don't talk to Paul.
I blew out my tire once, and I was able to get home.
issues.
I was able to get home on the Bridgestone run flat tires. I didn't have to change my tire.
That's something else.
You can go
It's
like
technology.
up to like 50 or 100 miles on the flat tire.
We're just trying to get Paul.
So
to pass
I don't have a
inspection,
spare.
right? Let's not-
I don't have a spare in my car because
the
of that.
dream is still alive.
I'm running out of time, bro. Pretty soon that color's going to change, and
Your kids are
it's
going
going
to
to be like a
wait,
neon sign.
Are we still
wait,
talking
you're not
about
supposed to
cars,
have
or-
an R on the car on the inspection sticker?
No.
Oh, that's
No.
bad.
I mean, you still got the crank windows, Paul. You need to get a new car. You need to get a new car.
I think you know why I
It's
can't
got
get
the
one.
ashtray and the the armrest.
Likes
you
to
got-
make fun.
You
He
got
could-
about 5
he
more
could
years
do
of college
something about
payments,
this,
right? You got
but-
5 more years of college
Do you
payments.
have a car phone?
With all the shows that you do, you
connected.
You got more
It's
side
connected.
hustles than
I know.
You
Why
know,
do you think I do all that?
you know, what's
Does
that
the
show?
seatbelt still automatic, where it like?
What was the
goes
show?
back?
Boogaloo
hustle.
Nights.
Boogie
Boogie
Nights?
Nights.
Boogie
That
Nights.
is
I don't
small
have that
shows.
side
You
hustle.
don't kind of have that kind of side
I don't
hustle.
have that side hustle.
You
No?
could if you wanted to.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got the equipment.
Speaking of big
Speaking of
units,
big units. With that, we'll call it a show.
you're going to leave a guy on the phone?
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
So mean.
When is Catch 22 this week?
Tomorrow after PU.
Tomorrow after Patriots Unfiltered.
Yeah.
Playbook next.
Playbook
We
action?
got the playbook with John Rook coming in next. John Rook graciously said he'll do it from the comfy seats, so Matt Morrell doesn't have to change, right? Yep.
Oh, there you go.
So we got John Rook with the playbook coming up next. We will see you tomorrow.
Picks
at
tomorrow.
noon.
Gotta hurry.
Picks.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.